right. Let's hope this works. Oh, okay. I'm trying to smile, but I still had... For those who don't know, I had my teeth worked on today, so I'm still a little bit numb. But welcome back to Tailosive EV, ladies and gentlemen, live on YouTube, brought to you by Starlink Wi-Fi. Not a sponsor, but a certified beta tester. I got my whole Dishy McFlatface box now in frame, thanks to the wide-angle camera. Hope you're all having a fantastic Thursday so far. In a recent tweet, this is what I wanted to kick off the stream with. Keep in mind, you guys are welcome to ask about any EV-related questions you want, maybe even the occasional non-EV subject, but for the most part, try to keep it somewhat on brand. But I pick out a subject for the stream to start with, and then I kind of let you guys take it away. But the subject that I thought was pretty interesting, probably not deserving of a dedicated video, but makes for a good little nugget of live stream news, is Elon made a tweet saying that they are actively trying to get Tesla insurance working in Texas by the end of next month. So it makes a lot of sense because Giga Texas is ramping up quickly, and I believe there still hasn't even been a law change that allows Tesla to sell their vehicles directly to customers in Texas. So currently, if you're ordering a Tesla, even if you're like down the street from the factory, they're going to have to either change the law somewhat quickly, or they're going to have to bring the vehicle outside of the state, then bring it back into the state. It's a big mess. But another process to make the ownership process of Tesla's vehicles much more digestible and easier would be Tesla bringing their own insurance coverage to their own vehicles for that particular state, which I honestly think is a huge potential revenue model for them. I think a lot of people just kind of glance over, okay, they offer their own insurance. But the truth is, similar to what Elon Musk mentioned during the FSD beta, monitoring your driver attention and your driving behavior and that kind of thing, I think Tesla has a unique advantage that they're able to collect and kind of monitor what type of driver you are necessarily. And some people may not like that. I've seen some people online say this is a terrible idea. Why would you want to get insurance from a company that knows exactly how you're driving? For one, Tesla isn't the first to do that. I believe there's some other companies that I think they require you to install some additional hardware to monitor your driving habits. But basically, if you don't want your insurance rates going up because you see yourself as somewhat of a reckless or somewhat of a high-risk driver, then just don't opt in. It's not like a mandatory thing. You can just not have that insurance option, and you can choose whatever insurance provider you want. But to those of us who do drive pretty responsibly and want the car company that we're paying, or whether the car company owns our vehicle or whether they are providing insurance for us, we want them to know that we can be trusted and they should be comfortable with us driving our vehicle because we don't do anything too irresponsible. And as long as they see that, they're willing to give you a lower rate. I'm all for it. I'll drive as slow or I'll drive as safe as I need to, as long as I can get insurance rates down, which I know I think briefly talked about during our last live stream. I mentioned that cost of ownership for someone like me would not actually change very much going from my current little crappy Sonata to a Tesla. Simply, even if we didn't have to pay for gas, now we would have to pay a lot more for insurance, which is just part of the downside of someone who's doing the EV stretch. You know, if you're accustomed to spending $50,000, $60,000, or $70,000 on your car, then switching to a Tesla probably won't change much insurance-wise. But if you're typically driving a pretty crappy, really super-duper cheap sedan, and your insurance, like ours, costs about $30 a month, and you're like, okay, you know what? I haven't really spent a lot on cars before, but I'm really excited about Tesla. I'm excited for the future of EVs, so I think I want to spend more money than I've ever spent on any car before and opt for an EV, like a Model 3 or a Model Y. That's where all of your gas savings are going to go directly towards your insurance. So I'm all in favor of Tesla collecting whatever data they need to collect and making more vertically integrated services like Tesla Insurance so that they know exactly how to repair every part of the vehicle. They know how to fix it. They know what it needs. As long as it can get the insurance rates down, I'm all for it. Cedric says, and with Tesla Insurance, the money goes to them instead of another company. Exactly. So another company is likely trying to profit off of being an insurance provider, even if they don't have physical, cars that they own and sell. Whereas Tesla They actually are owning the vehicle, so they really don't have much incentive to make a massive profit off of Tesla insurance. Their best call is to break even. So Tesla's best interest is to basically make the insurance as affordable as possible. My hair does grow fast. I'm glad we still have lots of USB-C fans in here. Tesla's on Team USB-C, by the way, too. They've got, I think, a total of 3. I believe it's 3 on the newer vehicles. I think Model Y and Forward all have Type-C. They gave Model 3 Type-C a tad later. But yeah, basically all the new Teslas have USB-C. So they're on board the USB-C hype train. Marco says, once all the puzzles fall into place, Tesla will be huge, maybe too huge. I'd argue they're pretty huge already by market cap, considering how much of a piece of the auto market Tesla accounts for, despite how much of a market cap they are, being so much substantially larger than everybody else. Okay, Lego Boy says 4. Where's the 4th one? Because I know there's 2 in the back, and I believe there's 1 in the center console in the front, and then I think there's still an additional USB-A port in the glove department. I could be wrong. Oh, Mike said, buys Model Y. Dang, that was a gouge in the wallet, but at least we won't have to do that soon, right? Cybertruck kicks down the door in 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. Yeah, Cybertruck probably would kick down your door and take out the entire door frame in the process. But yeah, I've gotten really down into the rabbit holes on Cybertruck. What's it called? Insurance. I'm curious how that's going to work, because obviously it's far more durable and there's no paint. So you'd assume there would be less damages involved, but also insurance costs typically have a lot to do with how much it costs to repair a particular vehicle. In general, my guess, in case anyone's curious, is that I think anybody that's not Tesla is probably going to charge through the roof for Cybertruck insurance, because they're just not going to know enough about it. It's going to be just a brand new vehicle, totally different, fairly expensive. Again, I'm anticipating the Cybertruck to end up costing a tad more than what Tesla is listing it as, just because that's pretty much what happened with the Model 3 and Y. I say this a lot, but I only do that because I think there's a false expectation a lot of Cybertruck fans have out there. So I'm sorry if you hear this a million times from me, but the reservation price of the vehicle, let's say you ordered the dual motor Cybertruck and you put down $100, you haven't locked in that $49,900 price point. Tesla can still, within their right, change that. They're not required to honor that price point. Full self-driving, if you did lock that in, they are required to honor that. Contractually, they have agreed that, okay, if you added FSD to your reservation for $7,000 or $8,000 or whatever, they have to lock that in. The price of the truck, though, if you check the terms and conditions, it says very clearly that the actual price of the vehicle will change. The $100 refundable fee, that's just holding your place in line, essentially. It's taking a ticket. That's not confirming the total price. My guess is simply due to inflation and an insane amount of demand, probably expect the final prices of the Cybertruck to be somewhere between $5,000 or $10,000 more. And again, I don't think that's necessarily because it ended up costing more to produce than they expected, although that's also possible. I think it's partly because the U.S. dollar is worth a lot less now, and probably will be worth even less by the end of next year compared to how much the U.S. dollar was worth when the Cybertruck was unveiled. But essentially, insurance companies aren't going to know enough about it. They're going to be confused by it. And when they're confused by a new vehicle that comes out, they're just going to quote you the highest possible price they can think of. They're like, okay, I'll compare it to another $70,000 truck. Okay, that's how much the insurance is on that $70,000 truck. Whereas Tesla, they might say like, okay, the repair costs might not be as complicated. But what I meant earlier when I said I was going down the rabbit hole on Cybertruck insurance costs is because Cybertruck repairability is going to be a fairly interesting subject. It could go very different ways. I've checked the subreddit on this lots of times, and I see fairly wise arguments on both sides. There's a lot of people saying that Cybertruck, because it's steel and because it's so rugged and so durable, for one, you're not going to have as many issues or panel things that you need to replace or repair because it's so strong. But, of course, it's not indestructible. Just because it's a rigid exoskeleton doesn't mean it's impossible for it to get wrecked. It's just a matter of speed, momentum, and what you hit. Eventually, it will get damaged. And the question a lot of people are debating right now in the subreddit is that exoskeleton, because it's kind of a unibody design, does that mean if this exoskeleton gets damaged, you're going to have to replace the entire exoskeleton, which will essentially make it totaled? Because replacing the entire exoskeleton is going to be extremely expensive, and probably not even worth the repair. At that point, it might even be cheaper to just buy a Cybertruck, because a brand new Cybertruck, because the process of what Tesla has said is different with the Cybertruck is the fact that it's not a body sitting on a frame. Like the body of the Cybertruck is structural. It's holding a lot of the components together. Obviously, it can't hold everything together, but how much of that truck is a single piece, and will it be easy for someone to just cut out a portion of the exoskeleton, add some new steel in, and weld it together? I've seen some fairly professional welders telling me that no, it's not that big a deal. You know, if you get a dent somewhere in the design, you'll just be able to, you know, buff it out, and the steel that you add and weld to the truck may not blend in perfectly, but it will kind of add to the post-apocalyptic look. It'll kind of give somewhat of a Mad Max, you know, badge of honor to just have a little square cutout, kind of like a patch on your jeans, if you will, except it's made of steel, and the weld marks might be somewhat noticeable, and the grain or the texture of the steel may not age it the same as the truck. But a lot of people are saying it would still look pretty cool, you know, if you put a patch job on your Cybertruck for some gash or some dent. What you had to have done to the truck to get that dent is a different discussion. Like Logan Russell here is saying, how the crap did you damage the Cybertruck? Yeah. I think that, as funny as that is, there's probably a lot of misconceptions out there of people thinking that, okay, well, because Franz took a sledgehammer to the truck on stage and it didn't dent, that means it's going to be like that GTA clip where the Cybertruck's just plowing through everything and it's virtually impossible for it to be destroyed. Whereas I don't think that's the case. I do believe it will have crumple zones. I do believe the exoskeleton can get damaged. Again, it's just, yeah, you're not worried about the paint color mismatching. Exactly, as Lego Boy said. That's a deal. That's an issue people have with Model 3s and Ys and S's and X's. Pretty much all cars right now. You get a fender replacement or you get a body replacement, and they don't match the white just right, or they don't match the red color exactly right. With the Cybertruck, you won't have that issue. I don't know how much that saves, but Mike says, I think it's an average between Model Y insurance with typical truck insurance, like Ram 1500, 2500. Yeah, I imagine it's not going to be pretty. Knights Templar, get a Rivian. You get a kitchen with it and a camping rack on the bed. For a Tesla or a house, which to get first? That's an interesting question. I'm guessing the financially responsible thing to do is get a house. But... A Tesla, I was going to say, well, the house will appreciate in value, but then I was going to say, well, you know, Tesla's appreciate in value too so far. I'm seeing people on Twitter that are like, I bought my Model 3 or my Model Y for $50,000 and then I just sold it for $58,000 or something. Like they appreciate, not always, but depending on the condition and the mileage, particularly if you buy FSD, you could see the vehicle not depreciate much at all. Owen says he likes the background. It's cool to see it from a different view. Yeah, I'm rearranging. I'm using some different cameras and try to streamline my workflow. You know, the best part is no part. Best process is no process. I'm kind of taking that logic to my content production, and I've discovered that just streaming from my computer's webcam is a lot simpler than trying to get my pocket cinema camera hooked up, because I want to use that for recording the videos, and it's far lighter than my old camera. So I hope you guys are comfortable with the webcam. Let's see. Taylor says, I'll live in a Tesla. We joke about it, but then have you ever tried to live out of your car? I know people that have. It's fun for like a week, and then you're like, okay, I'm ready for my own bathroom. How long after Cybertruck do you think it'll be before we get the Cyberquad thing? Ooh, it's a great question. I hope at the same time, but, you know, honestly, knowing Tesla and how hard it's been to get the Roadster out and to get the Semi out and to get the Cybertruck out, I can't lie to you. Like, I genuinely think there's a decent chance that Tesla will just scrap this Cyberquad and pretend it didn't happen, because I'm just imagining how busy Giga Texas is going to be already. And maybe they just wanted to showcase the Cyberquad as evidence of like, see, the Cybertruck can be practical, it can be useful, that kind of thing. And they were just trying to showcase that, yeah, this is like good for the outdoorsy. It's meant to get dirty and you can take it out to the dunes with your quad runner. And they just thought, maybe they thought Cybertruck looks so bizarre, looks so different, we need some kind of accessory to go next to it so that it blends in a tad more. I hope that doesn't happen. I'm just saying I wouldn't be shocked, because the Cyberquad really would be somewhat of a distraction for them that could take up precious floor space at Giga Texas that could be spent on something more useful, like 4680 production or Tesla Semi production. I get it, though. Everyone's like, yeah, but I love the quad. I want the quad. I know we all love it. We all want it. I'm just trying to say, business-wise, makes a lot of sense to me as to why they could end up scrapping it. And I had that same thought process for the referral program not long before the referral program ended up getting mostly scrapped, almost entirely. I kept saying, with the kind of demand Tesla has right now, there's really no point in having a referral program, but I'm glad they do. And then a week later, they were like, so, psych, we're taking that away. Which is a shame, because we were seeing all this leaked code within the Tesla app about referrals being used on other things, and maybe that's still coming, but yeah, it's not easy to call. Let's see. What's your name? I don't want to call you dude. Yeah, Drew. Sorry. Not sure if I make that obvious enough. I like to brand myself so that I can expand past my own name so people know what they're buying into. So Taylosive is my YouTube network that I maintain, but my name's Drew. Let's see. Mike said, if I had to choose between a house and a Tesla, where do I sign on the dotted line for the Semi? Semi is decent. I mean, not where you live, Mike, but in lower cost of living areas, you could probably buy a house for the price of a Semi. But if you got that, buying the Tesla Semi doesn't come with a trailer, I assume. I believe it just comes with the cab and the, powertrain and all that. But you'd have to buy your own shipping container or a trailer that you could load all of your gear into, your furniture. And I could see someone having a really awesome Tesla mobile station where the semi-trailer is just filled with solar cells, and it's got a Starlink dish on the top, and you've got a really nice, cool tech setup on the inside with a big screen monitor and cameras, and you just drive that Semi everywhere. But you'd be paying a crap ton of money for the supercharging miles, or mega charging miles. That's what the Semi uses, right? Cole Crawford says, how much will window replacements cost? That's the real question. Yeah, it's armored glass, so I feel like in general you should have to deal with less window replacement. Less window replacements, because it's going to be very, very hard to do something that results in the glass cracking. But also they're fairly flat. I don't know if that makes things easier. I haven't replaced a lot of car windows in my time, grand total of 0. But I could imagine that especially the front windshield on the Cybertruck is basically just a giant, rectangular sheet of glass. So I don't know if that makes the installation process easier or more difficult. I can't imagine it would be much harder. I don't think so. Will we see a tri-motor Model Y? I don't think so, young man, because it's not big enough. Basically, if you've seen the Plaid Model S, they had to widen the overall body a bit, and the wheels come out quite a bit to accommodate for that bigger powertrain that takes up more space in the back. And I don't think the Model Y has the hips. It doesn't have the hips for the Plaid powertrain, basically. That would be cool, though. I agree. Unless you got a steel ball bearing. Yeah, exactly, Trevor. If you're throwing steel balls at your car, expect a window replacement. Although I will still agree that if you would have thrown that steel ball at any other car window, probably would have gone through. Whereas on the Cybertruck, it did shatter, but it stopped. It didn't go through the glass. Matthew says, what do you think of Giga Canada? I mean, I don't have anything personally against them putting factories in any country, but I think if I remember correctly, I think the entire population of Canada is less than that of just California. So you want to build gigafactories centrally located to where a large number of people are. And that's probably going to be the biggest reason Tesla does not build a gigafactory in lower populated countries, because they want to get it central to where there's a bunch of people living. So honestly, putting a factory in Texas is probably a much smarter idea logistics-wise for supply chains and transporting vehicles to customers and stuff. I know they've got a lot of customers in Canada, but you have to set up a lot more to get a factory built than just some concrete and steel. I think that's a misconception a lot of people have. Like many people think it's just as simple as build factory. Okay, now we put a concrete slab on the ground. It's got walls. It's got a roof. Fill it with some robots, and boom. Okay, now Tesla's come out of that. But the truth is, where the factory is located also depends a lot on how closely located it is to the supplies it needs, right? A factory, for a lot of the procedures that goes into Tesla production, is more than just the assembly point. It's how close can it be to all of the suppliers that are going to provide the steel, the copper, the metal, the coils, and all of the materials that go into building the vehicle. So if you build it way out in the middle of nowhere, it's going to be a lot harder to get suppliers to ship stuff, or not harder, but it'll take longer for suppliers to send you the nickel and the iron and the lithium, everything that needs to go out there. So it's probably why they want to put things very centrally, like central population-wise, not necessarily geographically. They didn't put a gigafactory in the dead center of China, but that's because the east coast of China is far more populated than the west coast. So, not coast, the west side. So they put it in Shanghai, and Texas is kind of equally distant between, the populated areas in the central U.S., equal distance from, well, they already have a factory on the west coast, so they didn't really need a second factory on the west coast. But Texas will serve middle U.S. as well as east coast. So I'm not really sure exactly what benefit there would be to a factory in Florida or Canada, but obviously if it does make sense, maybe they know things I don't know. Let's see. I thought Elon said 3 and Y will never get Plaid. There's just not really a reason for them to. And I think they're too small. I think physically, like I've seen the teardowns, and like the Plaid powertrain takes up more space and probably does better performance-wise with the bigger tires and that kind of thing. So I don't know. It's like they've got vehicles for Plaid, like they've got the Model S and X if they want to do triple motor systems. But if the 3 and Y, those vehicles aren't trying to be the fastest cars on Earth. MLG Beast says, do you think FSD beta will come out this Friday or next Friday? Well, the timeline is somewhat confusing. I believe Elon said the button will start showing up for people starting tomorrow, the 24th, unless something has changed. Sawyer Merritt, who has gotten some things wrong and some things right in the past, so don't take his word of scripture, but he has said that beta 10.1 is still on schedule to launch tomorrow, but he hasn't heard anything about the button. I know Elon talked about this like 7-day monitoring period, but he said that would take place before the beta button comes out. So I'm not sure if that meant that it got delayed a week or something. So yeah, I don't. Of course, I wish I knew. A lot of people ask questions that I literally have no way of knowing. So all I could do is give you my best guess. 2 weeks, of course, yeah. Like Elon said. Probably safe to always assume 2 weeks. But if he's staying consistent to his previous schedule, he said that we should probably expect the beta to start showing up tomorrow. I don't think that means it'll show up for everyone tomorrow, but maybe just California, or maybe people with good driving history, or I don't know. I don't know how they're differentiating the rollout. He did say it would be gradual, which is why I'm warning people. Don't expect the beta button to show up on every Tesla vehicle that has FSD instantly at 12:01 on every car. He said it would be a slow, gradual rollout. But he did also mention there was a question we got earlier in the stream that I didn't have an answer to, that we got confirmation from Elon on. Someone asked him, will people who subscribe for full self-driving be eligible for the beta? Which I know is a concern, and Elon's response was yes. So my assumption, I was guessing last stream, now we have confirmation from Elon. You don't have to pay $10,000 to have access to the beta. You can pay for $200 a month and get the beta that way. and I just assume the beta will go away if you cancel your subscription. So you can try out the beta for $200, which is cool. Let's see. Jacob said 4-motor Tesla Roadster to outdo Model S, then SpaceX package to take the Roadster even further. Roadster with SpaceX package seems like it would be an addition to base model. I could be wrong here, but my guess with the Roadster is that it's going to be so low volume, there's not going to be much sense in having lots of different trims. And because the Plaid Model X now exists, I'm going to make a wild prediction. I could be wrong, but I think I've made it on the podcast and streams in the past. I think the SpaceX package will be standard. It'll come with every Roadster. You're not going to be able to buy a Roadster without a SpaceX package. And I think there's only going to be one battery size. I don't think there's going to be like a long range and a standard range. It's going to be such a low volume vehicle that there's pretty much going to be a few color options to choose from. Maybe some tire options, but it's a Roadster. I don't know how many options you really want to provide when it comes to the wheels. So I would guess the SpaceX package will come default, but it'll cost substantially more than expected. When they first unveiled it, they said it would be $200,000. And then the Founder Series, I think, was $250,000. I'm predicting all of them are going to cost $300,000 or more, but they're all going to come with the SpaceX package. You don't really need a 4-motor Roadster because the issue is not with torque, as far as I'm aware. The reason Tesla went with 3 motors instead of 4 is because adding an extra motor would just provide an insane amount of horsepower and torque, but it wouldn't increase your total speed because, for one, adding a motor adds to weight, adds to power draw, so it makes the vehicle a tad less efficient if you're driving your Roadster at city speeds, which, hey, I guess some people will at some times. It is a performance vehicle, but that doesn't mean it's going to be only on the track exclusively. I don't really see the point in them giving it range wheels and performance wheels. It's clearly meant to be, a high-performance car. I think the range is more important. I don't think the range is that important, honestly. The charge time, the fast charge time makes a much bigger difference on road trips than your total range. Like, if the Roadster does hit its range figure of, 620 miles or more or something, that's a long time to be driving a car without getting up. That's going to be like 8 hours of driving without a stop, without going to the bathroom, without taking a restaurant break. You're not going to make substantially greater time unless your destination is less than 600 miles or so. Because if you're able to recharge that vehicle in an efficient amount of time, it doesn't really make that big a difference between 400 and 600 miles. And most people are going to stop before they hit 600 miles anyway. I've done drives like that myself. I've never done 500, but I've come close to hitting 500 miles without stopping. It's miserable. I don't care how comfortable the seat is. That's just too long to be sitting down. Let's see. Elon has spoke on 4 motors and has said it's very difficult. Well, it just doesn't solve the problem. Like, I know a lot of people that say, give it 4 motors so it goes fast. It's not like that basic. Give more motor. Now go fast. It's like the 3 motors that it has already are so powerful that when you accelerate and you floor it, that's why it has a big battery pack, by the way. It's not just about range or weight. It's also about how much energy you can exert to the motors all at once. And with the current torque and horsepower of the 3 motors they're giving it, and the Roadster, of course, will be smaller and probably lighter than the Plaid Model S. It's safe to assume it's much smaller. That type of torque and horsepower, your limiting factor is the tire's grip. It's not that you don't have enough torque that you can't do 0 to 60 in 1.8 or 1.7 seconds. It's you're losing too much grip on the track, which is why they're doing the SpaceX package, because that's the only way to beat 0 to 60 in around 1.9 or 1.8, which is like what the Rimac Nevera is doing or whatever. Only way you can beat that is if you somehow find a way to cheat your grip on the track, which the SpaceX package allows you to do. It's a different form of thrust, which is now propelling it from the back of the car instead of just the tires spinning on the track, because if they spin too fast, you just spin out and lose grip instantly. Brian says, my 51-year-old bladder can't go beyond the 326-mile range anyway. Yeah, I think people over-exaggerate range. Like, I've talked about it before on other streams, but yeah, like the difference in travel time on a 1,000-mile road trip between a 600-mile EV and a 300-mile EV. It's not as big as you'd think. It's probably like 40 minutes. Let's see. Cole Crawford said the performance is enough on Model 3. I think so. I think they go plenty fast for the price that those vehicles cost. Performance Model 3 is actually somewhat affordable. If you want a performance Model 3 relative, I'm saying affordable relative to other vehicles with that type of acceleration and performance. If you want a more hands-on first-party review of the performance Model 3, Tech Forum, he's a guy who makes Model 3 screen mount kits. I've been watching his channel for a long time. He bought a 2021 performance Model 3 recently, and he has very, very nice things to say about it. I think he goes into incredible depth with the energy efficiency and the acceleration and what he likes and what he doesn't like. He's not a fanboy like I am. He's honest. But there's a performance Model 3 that I want to say, yeah, like not my neighbor, but like a place I drive by very regularly always has one parked outside, and I always take a good look at it because those performance tires on the Model 3 and that spoiler and everything looks delicious. I don't know why I said delicious, but that's the only way I know how to describe it. Performance Model 3 is glorious. I love it. Cedric says Model S long range will soon achieve 420 miles. Give or take. Yeah, like Elon said. Variety Entertainment says, which Model 3 does Randy have? He has a 2018 dual motor long range Model 3. It was originally black, but he wrapped it a like midnight army green, which looks really cool. I miss that car. I haven't seen it in forever, but I love that vehicle. Youngam says, I like to see Model S Plaid come down to less than $120,000. You know, I bet they could. I think that the vehicle's far more profitable than people realize, mainly because of that comment they said during the earnings call where they said these new refreshed Model S's and X's actually cost less to build than the Raven 2020 Model S's. So I'm not exactly sure. Oh, Mr. Beg, thank you, Mohammed, for supercharging the channel. Appreciate that. For those who don't know, it's just $2 a month. You get updates on upcoming videos, and you get loyalty badge next to your name. Also, there's a custom emoji that only members get to use. Sorry, it has to work that way. But there's a 2 weeks emoji I'll show off on the chat that if you do supercharge the channel, that helps me out. So thank you, appreciate it. But basically, they did mention that these updated Model S's are cheaper to build. I think the only reason the Plaid Model S is so expensive is probably because of the demand, and they know nothing else is really capable of beating its acceleration and its range. So when demand is crazy high like this, there's really no reason to lower prices. Like business-wise, that's typically the only reason you would lower the price of a vehicle is because you want more people to buy it. And if you're in a situation where you can't keep up on demand and there's too many people ordering it, why would you lower prices? There's really no point. So that's unfortunately why the prices are getting higher, which bums me out, but yeah, it's just a fact. Lord Brain, that's a funny name. Lord Brain. He says, do you think there will be a new Model 3 performance? I can't see many changes in the foreseeable future. I mean, they gave it the updated center console. I'm sure, I think Panasonic is still supplying the 2170 cells for the Model 3 and Y that are coming out of Fremont. I'm not sure when the Fremont factory will start switching over to 4680s. I mean, they got the Cato Road facility nearby, but I think Panasonic is on schedule or has some contract to do their best to increase energy density of the 2170 cells each year. I'm not sure when those kick in or if that's like a general average, so it might not be necessarily next year or something, but the only possible update I could imagine for a new performance Model 3 is maybe they come up with some new tire options, although I think the performance Model 3 tires look pretty awesome as is. But after that, there could be a Panasonic energy density increase where we see the range go up a bit higher. Maybe the performance Model 3 will get to 320 or 340 mile range, and the long range could get 360 or 370. That would be really cool, actually. I think the long range Model 3 is like the king of value when it comes to long range plus affordability. It's like $50,000 and that thing goes 350 miles. No one else in the EV market is anywhere close to that price for range, which is the two, in my opinion, the two most important factors for anyone in the EV community. Sorry, I'll do my best to keep up with the chat here, but I did my face is still a tad numb and my tooth is hurting. I went to the dentist today, so trying to play it off like normal, but my gums still feel weird. I'll try to keep up. Okay. The performance is not necessary. I think range is more important. I think on the Roadster, performance is pretty important. Long range can be reserved for Model S, long range, that kind of thing. You only could sleep if we had level 5. Correct. Trevor Scott says, this may be dumb, but what if we attach a motor to another motor to basically double or 10x the RPM of the wheels? I haven't done the physics on that, if it's possible. You know, it doesn't... It's probably dumb for an engineer to hear that, but I've had that exact same thought myself. I just didn't have the confidence to bring it up. I'm serious, though, Trevor. You've probably had the same dumb thought I had. I was thinking the other day, I was like, what if you have a motor and then a motor on that motor that's also spinning and they're both spin? I don't know. Probably some wiring difficulty that makes that impossible. I don't know. Let's see. 50. Okay, I read that. Some say not to recharge your car 100% daily. If so, I want the range to be 600 miles. Well, my question would be, how often do you drive? Like, what's your daily driving average? If it's 400 miles, then okay, fair enough. But if you're not averaging 400 miles a day, I don't see what the appeal to wanting to leave the house with a 400-mile range every single day is. Because our gas cars don't do that. Even though they have a gas tank that can support 400, 500 miles, you don't leave the house with a full tank every day. With EVs, you leave with an 80 to 90% charge. So yeah, don't necessarily hold it to 80. The range for daily charging is said to be kept somewhere between 80 and 90%. Elon said on Twitter many, many times that you can charge to 90% daily. It's not going to be the end of the world. Mohammed says, if the Texas Model Y has better build quality than my $135,000 Plaid Model X, I'm going to lose my mind. Mohammed, you're getting the Plaid Model X. Congratulations. That's what I took from that message. Yeah, that would be a shame, but I hate to break it to you, it's fairly likely. They have such a different manufacturing process at Texas. They're going to be implementing the brand new paint shop, all these new casting pieces, a very different manufacturing approach than what Fremont has. I'm not saying your Model X is guaranteed to have quality control problems, but the likelihood of the Fremont Teslas having issues and the Texas Teslas having issues, it's not looking good. It's not necessarily a price difference that means, this car only cost us $50,000. Don't try very hard. Ooh, this car costs us $140,000. Let's be really careful with this one. For them, it's just like, let's build these, get them out, and feel free to take me for a ride for it when you get it. I would love to check out the new Model X. Let's see. The Aspark Owl does not actually hit the numbers they say. Just look into them. Well, Tesla can struggle to hit their numbers too, but that's what it's meant to be. What's your range, right? Range as in best case scenario. That's why I don't really find it very useful when companies say, like, our range is this when you have a payload. I'm thinking of the F-150 Lightning, to be exact. They basically said the range is 230 miles when you have 1,000 pounds of cargo. And I was like, okay, don't do that, because then we got to do the math of, okay, maybe the range is a bit better without the cargo. What's the range going to be with one person? Just measure the range at the same metric as everybody else, because there's all these people now that think the F-150 Lightning is going to have a 400-mile range just because Ford mentioned that the advertised range is with a payload. And that's not true, because if 1,000 pounds impacted your range that heavily, it would not be a good situation. That means your max payload would nuke that range in half. So 1,000 pounds should not make that big a difference for a truck of that weight. Let's see. I think 2023 Model S Plaid Plus will be in the market. A lot of people still get hung up on the Plaid Plus. To me, it makes total sense what they did. It's a little frustrating the way they announced it, but I totally get business-wise why they scrapped the Plaid Plus. It was a lot of, Elon works at SpaceX, and he's a rocket engineer, and they do a lot of rapidly different schedules. They change plans. They change their mind on thing when they discover a better route. And I think what happened at Battery Day, this is where basically, I don't like the term Plaid Plus because it's just frustrating to be like, there's Plaid and then there's a little bit more than Plaid. It's confusing. What they were announcing at Battery Day was basically a Plaid Model S with a 520-mile range. Let's drop the Plaid Plus argument for a second here, and let's just focus on a performance Model S that could go over 520 miles. Tesla did not pick 520 randomly. They specifically said 520 miles because Lucid had just announced that their EV was going to go 517. Now it's confirmed by the EPA it goes 520 miles. So Tesla was basically trying to prove at Battery Day that thanks to the structural pack, the Giga Press and the casting pieces, thanks to the 4680s and their energy density and their efficiency, with a vehicle like the Model S and this type of battery chemistry, we can get 520 miles of range easy, more so than that. And that freaked everyone out. They were like, holy crap, these batteries are great. So if you go back and watch Battery Day, that was the point of them announcing the Plaid Model S. They highlight the range and the performance a bit, but the main purpose of it was, okay, we've talked all about these batteries and this new technology. How does this impact our vehicles? And they mentioned two. Said Plaid Model S will go super far and be super fast, and also one day we're going to make a super cheap 25K model. So that's how it impacted them. Obviously, they developed the Plaid powertrain. They got the carbon fiber sleeved rotors, and they developed the acceleration. And then they realized 4680s were kind of high in demand, low in supply, because we want Texas to use these batteries. We need Germany to use these batteries, and we quite haven't figured out the mass production process just yet. It's taking a bit longer than we thought. And of course, these batteries are going to need to go to Germany ASAP, or they're going to need to go to Texas as soon as possible. So why are we wasting these batteries on a $140,000 car that so little people are going to be able to buy when these factories desperately need them? And they don't have much of an alternative. I mean, they could probably, it sounds like they've built up a plan B now for 2170 cells to be used in the Texas Model Y and the Berlin Model Y. But at the time, they didn't really have much of a plan B. Whereas with the Model S, they did have a plan B. They were like, okay, we could do 4680s, or we could just keep using the same batteries we've been using in the Model S, which we already have a ton of suppliers for. We're already buying a bunch of those batteries. We've got a plethora of them, and we're going to have to shut down Model S and X production for a while anyway, so there's going to be a big stockpile of batteries that are not going to impede the supply chains of Texas and Berlin, and they allow us to sell the vehicle for a much higher profit, and the only compromise is the range isn't 520 miles. But it's still pretty dang good. It's still 350 miles for Plaid, and it's like 400 miles for the long-range Model S, which, as I mentioned before, if you have a solid charging network, it doesn't really result in that big a difference in road trips. It really comes down to how fast can the EV charge, not so much how far can it go between charges. And because of that, I think it makes logistical sense for them to scrap it and say, let's reuse our old batteries because we'll save far more money that way and we won't impede on the 4680 suppliers. So it sucks because obviously a bunch of people want the high-range Model S, and that was probably one of the game-changing features they announced about it that a lot of people were hoping for. But my answer is one day they probably will make a Model S with 520 miles of range when the 4680s have been ramped. That's why I'm hesitant to say no, they're not going to reintroduce Plaid Plus. They're just going to increase the range of the Plaid. There won't need to be dual in existence. I don't think we need to have a Plaid Model S and a Plaid Plus Model S. Basically, we have the Plaid Model S as it stands now, and one day when they ramp up 4680s at a high enough volume and they're ready to swap out the 1865 batteries, when they're ready to ditch those on the Model S, they will put 4680s in them, and then one day we'll wake up to a site refresh that says Plaid Model S now goes 520 miles on a charge. So there won't be a need for two separate Plaid trims, in my view. Maybe Tesla thinks otherwise. Maybe they'll bring it back, but I don't think I don't really think there's much of a point in having both. Should they not just actually expand Giga Nevada like they said they would? They wanted to. They just couldn't hire enough people. That was the biggest problem. They couldn't get enough people to move out to Nevada. That was one of the main reasons they chose Austin, Texas for the next Gigafactory, was because they were asking employees and they were looking for labor forces that would be willing to work. And they found that Texas was high on the list of places where people were willing to move and where people were willing to work. Reno, Nevada, they didn't do as much research on that. They were just thinking, let's find some cheap land where we can build a factory. And they start building the factory, and then, oh, crap, we can't get enough people. So if you can't hire enough people, it doesn't really make sense to expand the factory. Mohammed says, I feel like every Tesla factory is astronomically, that's it, sorry. Astronomically better than the Fremont one. Why don't they just retool manufacturing for the S and X at least, since it's a lower production than 3 and Y? I've heard a lot of people said they have. At least when MKBHD reviewed his Plaid Model S, he said the fit and finish and the quality control was fantastic. So it's very possible maybe that's why the Model X is delayed. I don't know for sure why. I can't think it's just because of supply chain issues, although that might be part of it. The Model X production line has been shut down for like almost a year now. They shut it down in like December of last year, and they've been, prototyping and testing Model X refreshes. We've seen them spotted around in different places, but the full production rate for when the like customer deliveries start and stuff, that hasn't taken place yet. So maybe what you just suggested is what's going on. They're trying to retool everything so the quality control is much better. Izai says, I was at 70% and 180 miles of range, no trailer pulling, just hard driving, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, interesting. Ford Lightning had the basic model not too long ago, taking people on rides. 70% at 180 miles of range is okay, I guess. Best guess from soonest we'll see to latest. Cybertruck, Model 2, Semi, and Roadster. I think it's probably safe to assume Roadster will be dead. Well, I was going to say dead last, but then you mentioned Model 2. I think Model 2 is probably a ways out. Unless you're counting the 25K model that maybe Giga Shanghai would build. Maybe that could come out next year. Cybertruck deliveries, I'm going to guess, won't be until the first half of I'm guessing first Cybertruck deliveries won't be until the first half of 2023. I know people don't want to hear that, but when Elon said production late 2022, I took that as just production. That doesn't mean deliveries will be late 2022. He said late, so I'm going to assume late. Semi, oh man, it keeps getting delayed. I'm so sad about that. Every time I see a semi truck on the road, I'm like, man, I wish you were a Tesla. Probably, I guess the semi really needs 4680s, huh? There seemed to be a lot of evidence that they were trying to do some semi-production in Giga Nevada. I can't tell if that's been scrapped or not. Out of those 4 you mentioned, which one do I think we'll see soonest? Okay. Hoping for the best, expecting the worst. I'm going to guess Semi, Cybertruck, Model 2, Roadster. The Roadster is just such bottom priority. I don't think they're going to rush that. And I think the Model 2 will start in Giga Shanghai because the margins are way better there, and they're very close to CATL, who's going to provide the batteries for them. They confirmed at Battery Day that the Model 2 is going to need a lithium iron phosphate battery, which currently is only being produced out of China. So I think it makes sense for them to start with the super cheap model there, and then after that, probably start building it in Germany and then eventually build it in the U.S. But they're going to probably need a new factory. I don't think Giga Texas has room for it. Giga Texas is already so booked up. It's going to be stuffed full of Model Y production, Cybertruck production. They've even mentioned the Semi will probably be built out of Giga Texas. And now you guys are asking about Cyberquad. Where's that going to be built? Like, I don't know. They're going to have to expand a lot of Texas to fit that many production vehicles there. So I'm going to go ahead and guess U.S. is going to get Model 2 last, just because 25K vehicles aren't the best sellers in the United States. Well, maybe I shouldn't say 25K. The compact vehicle, the smaller vehicle size that the Model 2 is likely going to be. I'm guessing in the United States, at least, I know that SUVs and crossovers and pickup trucks sell better than anything. So it makes sense for Tesla to prioritize Model Y and Cybertruck in the United States. Unfortunately, that's the case. I say says, I'm back. Ford Lightning was 39,000 and 153 mile range, and maybe it was at 80% charged. I'm sorry, did you ride in one? Like, what are you talking about? I keep seeing your messages. I made it to a live too. I'm looking up. He said Ford Lightning had the basic model not too long ago, taking people on rides. So did you get to ride in one? That's fascinating. I didn't know they were letting people ride around in them. Cole Crawford says, I've been trying to do the join button. There's no join button. I would have to join on my Mac. You should just be able to tap the first link in the description. If you want to supercharge the channel and help me out, appreciate it. Helps me pay for my expensive dental bill. I have pretty good dental insurance, and yet I still had to spend $240 on this filling today. Ended up costing a bit more, but it's okay because the dentist did a good job. He really fixed me up. So I appreciate anybody willing to supercharge the channel. Thank you very much. That couple bucks makes all the difference for my teeth. Oh my God. Can you imagine Plaid Model 2? Oh my God, don't get me started. That's basically a roadster, small two-door with 3 motors. That's basically it. Carl, I don't know how to say your last name, says, I want a Model 2. I live in the UK. I have a smart car and would love a Tesla Model 2. Yeah, I think most people would. Any Tesla that has autonomous features in the Tesla software, I think that's probably one of their best selling points, frankly, is just the big screen. The more I think about it, when I rank my Teslas, it kind of all comes down to the display. I love the Cybertruck because of that big 17-inch display. And I love that interior. And I would probably be far more inclined to buy a Model 3 or Y if it came with a 17-inch display. I would say, oh, no, that's the better option. Have a more minimal, clean interior. I just love the inside of the truck, probably more so than the outside. Outside's cool, too, but anybody who could buy a Tesla with the same great software and that massive display and the autonomy features that's under $30,000. Heck yeah. A ton of people would buy that. I think that, I know, for the record, we don't know what the name is, so we're calling it Model 2 as a placeholder. When Tesla gives it an official name, we'll call it that. But in the meantime, we're calling it Model 2. Someone earlier was complaining. Where was it? Elon has said the whole model is ending, hence why it's the Cybertruck and not Model P. Yeah, I understand it won't be called Model 2. I'm just saying that's the most commonly referred to placeholder name. I can either say 25K Tesla or Tesla Compact or Battery Day Vehicle. There's so many crazy different names I could choose from, but Model 2 is just the most simple, easy name to repeat. It's very, very basic. The cheap car. I don't know what else to call it. Most people just keep referring to it as Model 2, so I'm going to call it Model 2 unless... If they don't want us to call it Model 2, they should give us a name. Like, they've already confirmed the existence of it at Battery Day, so I don't understand why it's such a bad thing for them to confirm the name of it. Whether it's Tesla Q, Tesla Compact, I think that would make a lot of sense. Just call it the compact car. Model 2 is fine. It's a placeholder. I know it's not the official name, but... Scott said, S and X line has been completely retooled. That's why the S got delayed and why X is still delayed. Well, I'm sure the interior is totally different. Of course it's been retooled. Lower range would be okay if you portal fast chargers are in the market. Portal fast charge. The car does all that work for you. It'll tell you where to charge. Hacking Hollywood says, my understanding is that Fremont factory space is tapped out. Wouldn't it make more sense to just build a new West Coast factory? I don't think it's that simple or that cheap. I believe that with the ramping of the Fremont factory in California, Tesla has quickly discovered that it's not as affordable to build vehicles there and that they can save far more money by building their vehicles in Texas because of the corporate tax rate being lower and all of the county tax cuts that the state of Texas was willing to give Tesla. So if they needed another factory, it made far more sense to build one in Texas. I mean, we give Fremont a hard time, but honestly, quality control is only bad when you notice it. Quality control, I think, honestly, is very good most of the time from Fremont. It's just it doesn't get credit because a car being delivered without quality control issues, no one reports on that. No one cares. You only see the headlines and you only see complaining when something goes wrong. So when you're building that many cars and 1% of them has quality control problems, you're only going to hear about the 1%. So I think that the factory's not like completely useless. I think that they don't need to shut down the whole thing or whatever. It probably could help a bit, but they need to wait until other factories have ramped up to the point where they can afford to shut down all of Fremont for a while and kind of retool a lot of it. Let's see. Model 2.5. Asai says, I did not ride in one. I'm all about Tesla. I have a Model Y long-range 7-seater. It was a video I saw on YouTube. I dropped the link in this chat. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why, but the YouTube chat makes it hard for people to post links. They're probably just worried about spamming. It didn't prompt me with an option. I wish I could let you drop a link, but you're saying from YouTube videos. I wouldn't trust the prototypes, basically. The F-150 Lightnings that anybody has ridden around in are not official. They might not have confirmed batteries. They might not have production batteries in them. So that's why I got annoyed when, Marquez did a video with the F-150 Lightning and he was like, hey, it said the range is way higher at 80%. So if we do the math, that means the range is way, way bigger. And it's like, I don't think that's how that works. Don't trust those numbers. It's a pre-production prototype and it's been babied. It wasn't driven on the highway or anything. It was driven very slowly. So your estimated range is probably going to be very, very high if you don't take the car over 30 miles an hour. How many batteries will the new Mega Factory free up for cars? Oh, that's a great question. Well, I wonder why they called it Mega Factory instead of Gigafactory. I'm wondering if that means that it's because they're going to build less batteries there overall. So they thought Mega Factory was a more suitable name. But I believe that the factory was primarily going to be designated to lithium iron phosphate batteries, which unfortunately well, I personally think that the Model 3 standard range is switching to LFP eventually, but that shouldn't free up too many batteries since it's a different chemistry and they're likely in the prismatic state. It's for their mega packs, so I guess that does free up batteries because before the Mega Factory announcement, they would be using 2170 cells from Panasonic or 1865 cells that could be used for cars. Were going into mega packs, so they might free up a bit. It's impossible for me to know. No, it's called Mega Factory, but it's for the mega pack. Hey, Cole Crawford, thank you for supercharging the channel. Appreciate that. My teeth feels a little better now. Thank you. But yeah, I don't know the full production capacity. So it's an excellent question. I don't know the answer of how many batteries will it free up. I'm hoping a lot. Glad you figured that out. Thank you. When do I think the Model 2/C will get an unveiling? That's a good question. I was hoping by the end of this year because we were hearing about the environmental reports from Giga Shanghai saying that they wanted to prepare for this new cheaper model that would launch by the end of next year, like start deliveries end of 2022. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, Tesla typically likes to unveil their vehicles around a year before they deliver. So if they're going to start deliveries at the end of 2022, does that mean unveiling end of this year? But I feel like we would have heard more about it by now. So I don't know. I guess there's still a chance. We don't need much of a heads up. Elon will just randomly be like, hey, we're going to have an event next month. He could still do that. December. Maybe in December we'll see the Model 2 unveiling, but it will just be for the Chinese market. It won't be for us in the U.S. or in Europe. Trevor Scott says, Mega Factory will be making 1 million Powerwalls. Each Powerwall has 14 kilowatt hours, so that is 14 million kilowatt hours freed up for vehicles, approximate. I don't know if it's that simple to do that math. 100 megawatt hours. So that frees up about 100,000 vehicles per year. That sounds more reasonable. I was like, 1 million Powerwalls doesn't sound right. Tesla insurance in Texas and then beyond. Yeah, from what we've heard from Elon, to bring it back to the subject that we started with this live stream, he said that they're trying to get Tesla insurance rolled out for Texas starting next month, which Model Y Mike brought up earlier. It's kind of crazy that Rivian says they can have insurance in like 48 states. Let me find that message. Yeah, he said, crazy how Rivian is claiming they can cover most of the U.S. while Tesla is struggling to get to 2. Yeah, it makes me wonder if Rivian insurance is not as far ahead as we originally thought. Maybe they thought it was going to be easy, and they're like, we're going to have insurance in all these places, and then they're going to find out regulatory approval for insurance in all these different states is far more complicated than they anticipated. That would suck. I hope that's not the case. But yeah, it feels odd that Rivian is claiming this is going to be so easy. They'll just launch their insurance in all these different places. But Tesla's like, okay, we're really, really trying to get it in Texas next month. But it makes sense. That's the they're going by population, perhaps. He said New York probably sometime next year. But California is the most populated state. They've already launched Tesla insurance there. And now they're working on bringing it to Texas, which I think is the second most populated state. I could be wrong, but I believe it is. Let's see. It's focused on battery and energy storage. Yeah, I thought they were just doing mega packs there, but Trevor's saying they're doing power walls there too. Says, I have the Cybertruck on pre-order, but it got pushed back, so I might get the Model 3 long range until I finally release the truck. Oof. Sorry, man. You know, right outside my dentist appointment today, someone parked... Can I show you this picture? I'm not sure how easy it'll be to see. Someone parked right in front of me. Well, almost right in front of me. Like one car in front of me with a standard range. I think it's a standard range. 2021 Model 3. And it just looks beautiful. Like, everyone was complaining on Twitter about, like, the powered liftgate on the new Model 3s having gaps and stuff. And I had a couple minutes. I showed up to my dentist appointment a few days. Sorry, not a few days early. That would be bad. I showed up, like, a few minutes early. I did, like, 10 minutes before I had to go in. And I saw the Model 3. It was driving right in front of me and then parallel parked at the same time as I did. And I walked up to it and I just kind of looked at it for a while because I wanted to see if there were any noticeable quality control problems. I could not find a single one. Every gap looked perfectly symmetrical. Everything looked even. Everything looked just great. I could not find a single issue with that vehicle. So if you do end up going with the Model 3, I'll just say they look quite beautiful. Seriously, fantastic looking. Especially, I don't know what it is, but that chrome delete just did a great job. The chrome delete on that Model 3 really brings it together. I don't know why, but it makes it look so much better. Let's see. Only mega packs. I did my math wrong originally. Trying to calculate the batteries, I used power walls. Okay. Well, Trevor Scott's on the subject right now, everyone. He's going to try to figure out exactly how many batteries are going to be freed up thanks to this new mega factory. I assume because it's called Mega Factory, it's not going to be as massive as Giga Texas or anything. But yeah, that's good news because we want as many batteries freed up as possible. That's a big win. Let me see. Oh, hey! And Trevor supercharged the channel. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you. I worked on quite a few animations, by the way, for the EV channel, so... if someone becomes a member, it plays one thing. If someone super chats, it plays a different thing. If someone super chats, I think more than $10, it shows something else, and then more than $15, it shows something else. But yeah, we experimented with it in the previous stream. That's a good question, Greenpad. Though we gotta know how many batteries are going to be freed up. That's pretty crucial for these delivery times. Giovanni says, I bet all my Tesla shares it will be called Model 42. Why 42? Just because that's the answer to the universe? When does Model S refresh be announced? I wonder especially Y and X. Well, Tesla doesn't do consistent refreshes with their vehicles. They will just refresh them whenever they feel like it. It's not usually specified by a certain time of year. Although it has worked out that way a couple times. Like they announced the refresh Model S and X in like early January of this year. And I believe they refreshed the Model 3 in early January as well. So, yeah, it's like they technically refresh them whenever, but also at the same time, they kind of do it at the beginning of the year. That's when you should probably expect most changes. Maybe because Tesla likes it being easier for people to differentiate, like, is that a 2021 Model 3 or is it a 2020 Model 3? If you do a big refresh with the center console and the heat pump or the black trim, if you do that halfway through the year, saying 2021 Model 3 doesn't really mean much. It's like, is it a heat pump Model 3 or a not heat pump Model 3? So that maybe that gets a little confusing. Says he has awkward gaps in the Model Y just on the right side of the bumper fender. Makes my headlight bulge out a tad, which I think makes the left door rub the fender. Uh-oh. That's not good. I hope Tesla can get that worked on for you. Sorry. I've heard it before. Mike, Model Y Mike, my good friend, who I've filmed lots of EV videos with in the past, has had lots of little issues like that with his tailgate and many things that needed to be worked on and that kind of thing. That's why I think I'm just such a... It's a shame the Cybertruck's so big, because that's probably going to be my largest issue with actually owning one day. I don't know if I ever will because of its size, but I just like the idea of a big steel truck because you don't have to worry about little details as much. Honestly, I don't really care as much about awkward gaps. My car has awkward gaps. I've seen lots of other cars with awkward gaps and little quality control problems. That just... After a while, it becomes the car. You don't really think about it. I'm not trying to say they shouldn't fix it. Obviously, if it is possible to fix, they should fix it. But it's just, some people consider it a deal breaker and unacceptable. And I'm just like, whatever. Just ask Tesla to fix it. And if they fix it, they fix it. If they don't, okay, whatever. You still got an extremely safe car. So long as they don't have quality control problems that result in the performance, the safety of the vehicle being significantly compromised, that would be a problem. I think Tesla should be able to ramp up production a lot more in next year, just because they said that their orders from suppliers should be doubling in 2022. They've mentioned that on earnings calls several times. So even if the mega factory doesn't offset that many total batteries consumed, they have said that their current suppliers, like, Panasonic and LG or whatever, they're going to double those amount of orders. So production rate from Shanghai and Fremont should be pretty extensive into next year, which I'm hoping is the case, because the more vehicles they can produce, the slower the wait times. And if there's not slower, the better the wait times. Lower, that's the term I was looking for. If there's less wait times, then the lower the prices, which is the end goal here. If you can profitably sell lots of vehicles at a low price, we transition the world to sustainable energy much, much faster than, hoping people spend 40 or 50,000 a piece, because that's much more difficult. Although there's already proven to be a decent market for it as is. A lot of people willing to spend that amount of money. They've got a crazy amount of demand for it. Man, I hope the prices don't go up again. It's been a while, right? It's been like a month or two since Model Y became $54,000. Model 3 standard range at $40,000. Jeez. Remember when it was $37,000? Those were the days. That's what it should have been. I miss those days. There was a brief time where the long-range Model Y was like $50,000, I think. Oh, that was wonderful. And there was a $40,000 standard range Model Y. Oh, the value of that thing was astounding. I can't believe. Well, I can't believe it, but it's a shame Tesla got rid of that. That would have been such a good buy for so many people. What else? Oh, I also saw that it's looking like Samsung is likely going to be the manufacturer for the Hardware 4, basically the second generation full self-driving computer, which is dope. Because we know that the Cybertruck is going to be using the next generation FSD computer. At least that's what Elon said during AI Day. So if that ends up being the case, then they should be relying on different chip manufacturers. So hopefully the Cybertruck won't be impacted by the chip shortage. Yeah, a lot of people kept saying that's why the Cybertruck was delayed. I just did not see it that way. People were like, Cybertruck's delayed because of the chip shortage. They couldn't have expected that. I was like, the production area for the truck isn't done yet. I think, given the fact that they haven't deployed 4680s into their vehicles quite yet, I think that is evidence enough that they're not ready. They're not ready to mass produce it, and I don't think it has anything to do with the chips. Okay, Asai says, it's not a deal breaker for me. No one notices it. It's just me because I hand wash it. My third row seat popped up and out took me 15 minutes to push it back on the clips. Oh my goodness, that's not good. Wonder how many Samsung could make. Yeah, I'm hoping by the time Cybertruck goes into production, the chip shortage had been mostly resolved. We'll see, though. I'm curious, Isai, like, why did you go with the 7-seater? Not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying I've sat in the third row of the Model Y, and man, it is pretty dang crammed. It is a fairly small, like, do you have kids or something that you want to be able to sit back there, or do you have friends that are somewhat short that they can sit comfortably back there? Because, like, I don't know that many people that actually bought the 7-seater, and you're like the first person I've seen in the chat that said they own one. So I'm very interested why you opted for that option. Okay, he does have kids. Makes sense. That's the most logical explanation. Greg Swanson says, will Tesla make more cyber vehicles? Cheap Cyber Model 2 or Cyber Roadster? I really hope so, because I like that design approach personally. Like, I love having the steel exoskeleton without paint, because hopefully that allows for weight savings. And of course, if you have the structural pack, you'll be able to have great range, good affordability. So I've advocated for it in the past with my videos. I've been like, hey, I want a whole cyber lineup. You know, if the government ever came to Tesla and they say, you're too powerful, you have too much dominance over the market, we need you guys to break up into separate companies, I would say, let the cyber lineup spin off and become its own brand. You know, like, it can use Tesla batteries in the supercharger network, but let there be a Cybertruck, a Cyber Coupe, and a Cyber Roadster and all that, and a Cyber SUV. I'd be all about it. My guess as to why Tesla doesn't want to necessarily just jump straight into that is because the Cybertruck is using a bunch of never-before-tried manufacturing techniques, like the exoskeleton, where the mass of the vehicle is pushed to the outside, and that's kind of your structural pivots for pretty much everything inside. So Elon has said that's going to be a challenge, and no vehicle has ever been built like that before. It's not just a DeLorean. It's not like, oh, they use steel instead of aluminum. It's like, no, there's a lot of different design approaches that the Cybertruck's going to need. So they probably want to mass produce that first and see if they can iron out the challenges and see if they can solve the mass production issues of the Cybertruck. And once they've got it going, maybe that's when they'll consider, okay, we figured this out, it's working pretty reliably, let's see if we can now build this on a different format or a different type of vehicle. But they just got to start with one, because if the Cybertruck ends up being fairly complicated and it's very problematic to get the exoskeleton working, and they have to fundamentally redesign the whole inside of it, and if it ends up being far more complicated, obviously they're not going to expand it into more vehicles. It might end up turning into a big headache, theoretically. I hope that's not the case, but I've also heard people say with inside sources from Tesla that the exoskeleton, steel design approach really only works with a truck-like design. Like, if you try to do that with a smaller vehicle, or if you do that with a Roadster, it becomes less practical. It doesn't help with the weight. It doesn't help with manufacturing. And perhaps that the exoskeleton style only made sense if you were designing a truck. I hope that's not the case, but that's just what I've heard from a few people that claim to have inside sources. So they may be making stuff up. Who knows? Let's see. I once saw 35 clowns get out of a VW Beetle. I'm once just saying, yeah. But I bet that VW Beetle wasn't like $60,000. Jeez. Let's see. Aren't most cars and SUVs built with exoskeletons? I don't think so. I believe most of them are built with body on frame. At least not, rugged, cold rolled stainless steel exoskeletons. That for sure doesn't. That's never been attempted. He says his 7-year-old loves it back there. Okay, cool, good. I'm glad the kids enjoy it, because that's pretty much all I could imagine enjoying it. Okay, Trevor's got some math for us. He said, Megafactory is 500,000 square feet. Giga Nevada is 1.9 million square feet. Nevada produces 50 gigawatts a year, so if we take just size being almost 4 times smaller, that means only 12.5 gigawatt hours a year. But a single megapack starts at 3 megawatt hours and can go up to 100, like in the Salt River one, so 10 to 15 gigawatt hours could be very likely. I think the mega name is for the megapack and not the battery capacity. 50 gigawatt hours is if they use all 2 million square feet of space. It's real world production, It's only 37. So if they use all the space at the mega factory, but they probably won't. Yeah, I appreciate you doing the math, but of course we're discovering it's very, very difficult to actually get to the hard number of how many vehicles this will free up. Youngman says he wants colors for his Cybertruck. It's probably just something they're going to tell you to do aftermarket, and I bet wrapping companies are going to have much easier time wrapping and customizing the Cybertruck because the edges are so flat and there's like hardly any curves on that design. So it's going to help Tesla a lot for mass production, for them to just keep it simple and not have all those different tiers. They get to skip the whole paint shop process, which is a fairly large portion of the factory. If you check out a Model Y or Model 3 assembly line, the paint shop is a very large section of it. So if they get to bypass all that with the truck, they can save a lot on time. So they're just going to say, all right, take the cheaper truck. Obviously, for the specs it offers, it undercuts all the competition. And with your savings, you can put that money towards a wrap. You can get a glossy wrap. You can get a matte wrap. You can get Sierra Blue, whatever you want. You can make it work. I'm sure lots of people will wrap it, though. Let's see. Most vehicles are not exos. Yeah, not unibody. For sure. Just made it. Will the insurance be available in New Jersey? I think Elon said the goal is for Tesla insurance to be available everywhere, but New York probably not until sometime next year. But Texas is the next target. They're working on Texas for next month. So if that doesn't happen, something regulatory-wise will have likely come up. I'm not even sure what the process is to launch insurance. It's not like a factory. It's not like they're building anything. It's like they want to get a state approval to pay for people's repairs during collisions. I'm not exactly sure all that is entailed in that process. I'm guessing it's a big legal battle, though, unfortunately. What about Washington? Haven't heard much about Washington. Sorry, Jonathan. I wish that was sooner rather than later, but I'm guessing Tesla's going as fast as they can. I think it clears up about 100,000 vehicles worth of batteries per year, but would they actually do that, or would they just use this new factory to supercharge the Megapack production? I assume they wouldn't be building one unless they believed it would actually make a fairly substantial impact. So I think 100,000 vehicles a year is a good assumption. I mean, other things like Giga Texas and Giga Berlin are going to increase their production capacity a lot more than the Mega Factory will, but any little bit helps. Anything small that can make a difference is important. So I'm glad they're doing it. That's a good addition to the Gigafactory ecosystem, I guess. Where do I live? Which area? I'm sorry. I if we were just talking one-on-one, I would gladly tell you, but I've just run into issues with people trying to figure out where I am, and people telling me, oh, like, I know where you live, or I've run into that issue online before, so I just keep that mostly a secret. But if you ever ran into me in public, I guess you would have a good idea. I'm somewhere on Earth. Sorry, don't tell your friends, but Telosif lives on planet Earth somewhere. Yeah, Washington State, there's a lot of people up there, so I could understand. Hopefully that being next priority. Yeah, I've had some weird people try to figure out where I'm located. It's been very awkward. They start DMing me. They're like, "Is this your house? Is this your house?" Or I've in the old days where I used to have a dedicated office, someone like sent a pizza to my house. Someone like ordered a pizza and sent it, and someone showed up and they were like, "Hey, I've got your order." And I was like, I didn't order a pizza. And they were like, "Oh, well, we got a call for your name at this address." And I was like, "Oh God." It was weird pranks. People start doing it. Marin area? What's that? Sure. Yeah, let's say Cole's right. I'm in Marin area, wherever that is. I don't live on Mars, unfortunately. I would not be able to read the chat this efficiently on Mars, believe it or not. I know you're probably not interested in finding where I live, but if I'm live streaming, everything I say is publicly recorded and documented. So, ooh, there you go. MGW says, get a gangsta rap. What is a gangsta rap exactly? Does that just mean like matte purple with some spinning rims? I bet the Cybertruck would make good for a gangster vehicle. You know, it's bulletproof. You can get some gold accents on there. Yeah, don't get swatted, of course. Avoid getting swatted if at all possible. That is the goal. That's the main that's the main target. But I just hope I can get a hold of someone who takes delivery of a Cybertruck somewhat close to when they officially launch. That would be great. Because I'm not I won't reveal my location, but I'm not necessarily close to Giga Texas. I'm not super close to it. So whoever gets deliveries first, I have a feeling they'll be closer to Giga Texas, because at least with the rollout of the Model Y, it was not based on who ordered first. I think that's another misconception a lot of people have been having, is they think that if they ordered the Model Y on launch day, they're going to get it first. Or now with the Cybertruck, people are like, I got my order in the first 10 minutes the site was up, so I'm going to be first in line. It's like they deliver the trucks really based on how close you are to the factory. It's not so much about like, okay, who ordered first? All right, first guy who ordered is in Washington. That means we got to send a bunch of Cybertrucks up to Washington. The second person who ordered was in New Jersey. That means we got to send a bunch of trucks to New Jersey. Like, no, they look for hot pockets of deliveries, which there's probably going to be a bunch in Texas and a bunch in California and probably everywhere in between. So they're going to just send the most amount of trucks to where the highest population number of orders were coming from. Let's see. Do I know if Model Y has tire pressure sensors? Yeah, I think so. I believe all Teslas do, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Oh, wow. Neo 311. Thank you. Appreciate it. We got so many members today. Why is everyone being so generous? Thank you for supercharging the channel. That's very, very polite of you. For those who don't know, $2 a month. Okay. I don't know how to say your name. You should have picked one that was easier to pronounce. EXDXG. Okay, he's saying, I'm still waiting on a Cybertruck front picture. All right. I'll pull it up for you here. I'll do the work for you. Because I know this is important. But they briefly showed one on stage. It's not a super detailed image, but let me bring up the display here. There you go. I don't know if the prototype actually had this or this was just a proof of concept or everything. Ooh, someone got like a enhanced. Man, I wish they just posted these pictures. But yeah, that's gives you a rough idea of what it looks like. They have a few different pictures. This is another one that they had at the event that I didn't see in the Tesla Gallery. For those who don't know, Tesla Gallery posts all of like Tesla's media images and that kind of thing. Ooh, wait, here it comes. Let's see if this works. Super sticker from Domas. Will the animation arrive? Please. Come on. It might be delayed, but hey, there you go. You got the autopilot symbol. Okay. He activated the base super sticker animation. Appreciate that. Thank you. I'm excited whenever someone super chats. For one, because thank you, you're supporting me, but also because I have different animations that are supposed to go off depending on how much people super chat. So there's one for $5 and less, and I think one for more than $5, one for more than $10, and one for more than $15. I think that's all of them. Okay. There's your Cybertruck funk. Did I say funk picture? Frunk picture. Well, you guys are in luck. I hope you're enjoying the stream because I actually, my schedule was all thrown off today. I'm just going to be going to be real with you guys for a second. My schedule was all thrown off because I had a dentist appointment that was fairly early in the morning. So I was trying to get as much work as I could done for the Talos of Tech channel, which is also getting a lot of my time right now. And I went to the dentist. I got my tooth worked on. I came back, and basically my usual work day was mostly done. So I didn't have much time to do an EV video. And my wife got invited to hang out with some of her friends. So I was just like, okay, you can go hang out with her. I didn't get an EV video done today. So I'll just do an EV stream. And she just texted me that they're going to be hanging out for a little while longer. So I'm just replying to her like, hey, that's no problem. I'm just streaming, just hanging out with you guys. So this might end up being one of the longer EV streams because I could end the stream, but I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to hang around the house, maybe watch some YouTube. I already had dinner, so she's hanging out with friends. I'm hanging out with my online friends, which is you guys. So obviously the stream will be available after the fact. If you guys got to get going, feel free. But I'm just going to keep streaming. You know, I'm enjoying this. So if it gets dark outside, I'll have to turn on my studio light here. But I've got it. I'm ready. Let's do it. All right. Thank you, Domas, for the super chat. Isn't it a law that new cars have to have tire pressure sensors? That wouldn't shock me because I know a lot of cars do, but I don't know for sure if it. But yes, it does have tire pressure. Neo says, I appreciate what you do. Well, thank you, Neo. I appreciate the support. Thank you. Did I ever get my hands on the 1 to 10 Cybertruck? I just got mine yesterday. They're huge. No, I saw a bunch of people were buying those up. I do have I'm not sure what the ratio is. 1 to 18 Tesla Semi here, obviously, that makes it in the background of all my videos. So I love checking this thing out. Fairly detailed, and it's straight from Tesla. But I didn't check out any of the 110 scale Cybertrucks. It has like a secondary roof line in the back. Isn't that weird? It made me think you could take off this part on the top and maybe make it like a shorter Semi, but I've tried. It does not come off. But the door's open and the steering wheel moves and everything. It's dope. Let's see. Cole says, love these streams. Get me through my full-time job. Oh, good. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad they're helpful in some way, shape, or form. They're fun for me. I don't know if they're fun for everybody, but I enjoy them. Do you think there will be another cyber vehicle? Man, I hope so, Lord. It sounds like I'm praying, but that's his name. Lord Brain is the one asking. I really, really think that of all the things I appreciate about the Cybertruck, it's not really the size. It's not even really the range, although those are great things. And it's not even really that it's a truck. I think my favorite thing about it, aside from the interior, I love that very simple dash. I love the yoke, and I love the 17-inch display. That's all great, but the thing that I'm most interested in about the truck is the idea of not having to worry about paint chipping or easy denting. I feel like there's so much cosmetic issues with my current car. I've got paint chips all over my current car, and I get these easy little dents that happen from the door opening too fast and it hits the garage wall or something, or I park next to someone and they open their door and they hit my car. I've had that happen several times. I just want to have a truck that, not necessarily a truck, I just want to have any vehicle, really. It could be a sedan. I would be super duper interested in a cyber sedan, honestly. Just something that you don't have to worry about getting dinged up. Just know that it's so durable, it's going to last, and you don't have to worry about scratches or paint chips and that kind of thing, because that's just such a frustrating part of car ownership to me. It's like, okay, we buy these giant expensive vehicles, but like you can swipe your fingernail on them the wrong way and the body just looks horrible. So that's a shame. I also hope they make a Ford Maverick size Cybertruck. Yeah, I'd be super about that. I don't know if you guys know, but my first vehicle ever was a Ford Ranger from 2000. And the only reason I don't have that vehicle today is because the transmission was shot. So actually, every car problem I've had has usually been something that an EV doesn't even have. Like the transmission went out, or another issue we had with that Ford Ranger was the head gasket blew. And we spent like $1,000 or $2,000 fixing it, and then the transmission went out like a year after fixing that. So it was like all of these things EV wouldn't have. I'm sure that there's other issues we may run into with quality control, or EVs aren't free of maintenance. But I'm just saying all of the issues we do run into with our gas cars typically wouldn't be problems on any EV, which is great. That's what makes me so excited for the electric future. Trevor says, seeing as the Cyberquad is just a Yamaha ATV, I think they will either team up with the Yamaha or they will delay the Cyberquad to make it 100% Tesla. Well, I guess if the Cybertruck is delayed, so is the Cyberquad, right? It doesn't really help them accelerate their transition to sustainable energy very much, so I would not be shocked if it ends up getting scrapped entirely. I've got a dual motor on pre-order, ultra doable, and million-mile battery. Yeah, those are... The longevity of the 4680 cells is going to be fascinating. Epic Me says, I just want to thank you for what you're doing, putting in the time and effort for making YouTube videos. I'm 18 years old, drive a Model 3, and an investor, and you help me in EV news. Wow! Congratulations. Holy crap. You have a Model 3 and you're 18? Man, I wish I could say I'm not jealous, but that would be a lie. See, it's already getting darker outside, but don't try to deduct where I live based on that. Will you be going on an EV road trip? Where would you go? I don't have any currently scheduled. I think Model Y Mike has talked about it briefly a few times. He said, you and I should just do a road trip together in the Model Y. I would love to do one, but we don't really have a great place to road trip to, or I think it's not so much. I know there's great places we could visit and parks and stuff. The bigger issue is getting time off. For those who don't know, this is not my only YouTube channel. I run a few YouTube channels, biggest one being Telosive Tech, and this is my full-time job. Like, this is what I do professionally, and it's a great job. You know, I love being able to just make videos about things that are interesting to me, and I love being able to talk about subjects that I think are exciting and motivating. But one of the downsides of this full-time YouTube job is that when you take time off, there's no PTO. You don't get holiday pay. You don't get sick days. So if I decide to take a week off, that just means my paycheck is going to be substantially lower next month. So typically when I go on vacations, I do my best to prepare videos. I'll pre-record them and schedule them to go out until later. So I have to work more basically in advance if I want to take time off. So also my boss, Mike, so I don't know why I said my boss, Mike, my friend, Mike, his boss, has certain rules on how much time he can take off and how much time he can stay away from work and go on breaks and stuff. So finding a time when both of us would be free to take a road trip is going to be a little difficult. But yes, I'm a big fan. I've been keeping up with Inspiration 420. Omar and Warren Redlick and what's her name? Ellie? There's a bunch of people basically going on a cross-country road trip with the FSD beta in a 2018 Model 3 that is signed by Elon Musk. So yeah, I've Northern Cali acoustics, exactly. Oh, these acoustics are giving me away. But yeah, I've been keeping up with all of Warren Redlick's content. It's cool. Sounds like he really, really enjoys it. He got a stellar deal on that Model 3, man. No joke. Like, holy crap. He was not kidding. I saw that Omar was selling his Model 3 that was signed by Elon Musk and that they were going to hold an auction for it. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. I bet that's going to sell really high because it's got Elon's signature. That dude bought it for like $44,000. And it has full self-driving. And it's a long-range Model 3. Rear-wheel drive. He got a crazy good deal. If you go around on the used market right now or look at Tesla used inventory, there's no way. You can hardly find any Tesla with or without full self-driving that gets $44,000. That's $44,000. Particularly a long-range one. So like, holy crap. He made that video. He was like, hey, I won the auction. I got it for $44,000. And I was like, dang. Hats off to Warren. He got an amazing value for that. It comes with full self-driving with the car for life. And the range is still almost 300 miles. I think he said close to 300. It's got 70,000 miles on it. So it's not, 100% battery health. And it's signed by Elon Musk. Like, that thing was an investment. That wasn't a purchase. That thing's going to be worth probably $50,000, $60,000 in a few years. I mean, it's probably worth that now, honestly. If he tried to sell it now, I bet he could make all that money back. Let's see. Enough of cars. Where about Tesla boats? That could be next. I don't think boats account for, well, big, freighter boats probably account for a large amount of emissions, but they're going to require just an insane amount of batteries that Tesla doesn't have the capacity for. So that would be another good challenge if electric aircraft ends up taking longer than they planned. I know that Elon said that when the energy density and the weight reach this certain point, they'll be able to do electric aircraft. But, well, that might actually make more sense to do next because they're probably not going to need as insane amount of batteries. It's just the giant freighter ships that consume a lot of gas and oil and fuel. In order to stuff those with enough batteries, it's going to be insane. That's just going to be like probably a maybe not even that. Maybe like 50 megawatt hour battery pack or something to be able to move a boat that large with that much weight and get it to move through the ocean. That's going to be a challenge. Trevor Scott says, seeing a standard range plus Model 3 new is around 40,000 without full self-driving. 44K was a steal. Oh, yeah. I can't believe that the auction stopped at 44K. I thought it was going to go way higher than that, given it actually has a Elon Musk signature on it. That's incredible. Epic Me says, my parents got me it. It's more of a family car and convinced my dad to get a Tesla in 2017, Model X 90D. He liked it, but he didn't believe in the range. I finally convinced him to get a dual motor, and now he loves it. He didn't like the range because he thought it would slice in half. He drives over 200 miles a day. Wow. Good for you, man. Can your parents hook me up? Like, what do I... That's incredible. I wish I could have convinced my parents to buy me a Tesla. That's my dad bought me this Tesla for my birthday one year. Would have been funnier if he put it in the garage and he's like, your birthday gift is a Tesla Model S and it's waiting for you in the garage. I'd be like, and then I'd run outside and I'd see the little Hot Wheels. He didn't do that, but ironically, I did that to him. When I was in middle school, my dad really, really wanted to buy a motorcycle. And I said, yeah. Suhaib is like, they adopting it all? Yeah. Could your parents adopt me by any chance? I'll just live with a standard range. I know you're the real kid, so they can buy you a long range. But since I'm adopted, I'll take a standard range. No problem. You won't hear me complain a bit. My dad basically was hoping he was in the market for a motorcycle when I was in middle school, and it was his birthday one year, and I was like, "Your birthday present is in the garage," and he was like smiling, and then he opened the door. I got him something. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't a motorcycle, but I put it in a birthday present, and I just left it in the garage. It was kind of mean, but I don't think he bought it for a second. I think he played along just to make me laugh, but. If you have to ask Elon something, what would it be? Ooh, that's a tough one because there's so many stuff I could ask, but the problem is I have a lot of questions that he probably would just deflect. Like a big one that you guys have asked me a lot during the stream that I would love to ask is like, will you make other vehicles with the cyber aesthetic, with the stainless steel exoskeleton? And he'd probably be like, well, we're going to have to wait and see until production of the Cybertruck takes place and then maybe take it from there. We're going to focus on that first. So he'd just like avoid the question. So I'm trying to think of a question that would be very hard to deflect, because I think about that a lot. I was like, if I had the chance to interview someone really big, really famous, what types of things would I ask? And I'm like, I don't know. Why'd you get rid of the standard range Model Y? Be honest. People love that thing. I don't know. Man, there's so many. It's hard to nail it down to one. If I had to nail it down to one, I guess, I don't know, man. Probably just, will you make more cyber vehicles? I think that's a good one. Hopefully he doesn't deflect it. But pretty much any question I ask him, he's probably going to deflect it. It's a shame. Will Tesla ever get into aircrafts? That would be another good one someday. Are we going to be using Neuralink to control Tesla bots from our cars? I'm trying to think. What would the bots need to do if you're in the car? What do you need a bot to do from your mind? Like they help you get out of the car. Maybe like older people that have a harder time moving around, and your mind calls on the bot to help you get out of the car and assist you. Are we in a cyber simulation? Well, Elon, it's an interesting question, but I think Elon's already answered that several times. I've heard him on multiple occasions say, like, he thinks we're in a simulation. It's an interesting question because, you can debate whether or not what the brain perceives as reality is a simulation. Your brain is basically a bunch of tissue in your head that is receiving a bunch of neuron signals from your eyes, from your ears, from touch, from smell, and it's creating a reality in your mind. So is that a simulation in itself? Is it possible to not be in a simulation? I don't know. I think on one interview he said something like, if you consider how massive advancements we've seen with computer graphics and like realism with CGI and that kind of thing, and if computers have really only been around for like 40 years, personal computers, and this is with AI and deep fusion and how advanced we can make so much electronics and computer generated imagery. When we can take things that far, imagine if you had like 500, 600 years of development in that. You could probably recreate reality flawlessly, or at least extremely difficult to tell the difference. And if that's the case, what are the odds that, the Matrix happened? They built the whole AI that took over the world and plugs us all into a simulation to experience it. I don't know. These are good questions, Jonathan. I just don't think they're questions Elon has the answer to. Where are all the aliens? I think I agree with Elon. They're pretty dang subtle if they're out there. Trevor says, I was AFK, but I heard you talking about motorcycles. Have you seen Zero? I have seen Zero. Yeah, I was somewhat interested in them. I haven't heard of Energisia. They're doing great EV motorcycles. The bigger issue I've had with EV motorcycles is that they are still really expensive, despite the battery packs being a lot smaller than EV cars, the substantially smaller batteries than Teslas. And yet, these motorcycles still cost like $15, $18, $20, easily over $20,000 for electric ones, which is a shame. There's a EV startup, I think, called Sondor, that's working on this, I think it's a $5,000 motorcycle. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Let me see if I can. Oh, no, they make e-bikes. 200,000 riders. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong thing. Electric motorcycle. No, I'm brought up the wrong company. Maybe Sondor is different than motorcycle. Let me see. Yeah, this is it. Okay. Okay, so it's maxed out at 80 miles per hour. Sondor's X. Oh yeah, that's it. 4 kilowatt hour battery pack. So it's not, it's not a crazy big battery, but I think they've said that they're going to charge like $5,000 for them or something. The range is not crazy high. I think the range is like 80 miles or something, but you can charge it from a standard outlet. I could see this doing really, really well in third world countries where they drive more motorcycles than they do cars, which is fairly common. They don't list the range. Oh, up to 80 miles on a single charge. So yeah, it's definitely not meant for like extended road trips. It's meant for like driving around town and stuff. But it looks cool. Looks nice and small. It hasn't been delivered yet, but yeah, I hope they can deliver it because obviously the pricing on that is amazingly good. Not a sponsor, but let's see. Reservations for estimated Q1 2022 are extremely limited. So they're probably not going to be able to build a ton of them. But yeah, they're cool. Let's see. Energisia is probably more advanced than Zero, but some Zeros start at 15,000. My Triumph was 15K. They aren't that much more expensive, and Sondors makes that cheap motorcycle. Well, they're going to. They haven't yet, but hopefully they can make it. Oh boy. Epic Me is flexing. Oh, he said, I would love you to come to Texas and drive it. I want to get the FSD beta subscription, but my dad doesn't want me to spend $200. I want to try it for a month because I've been watching all the videos a lot. That does sound fun. I have a good friend, Nick, from the Tailosive podcasts that lives out in Texas. He works for, you guys might know him. He works for a NASA spaceflight. Except I knew him long before he worked for NASA spaceflight. We've been friends since 2016, I think, but most recently he joined them, and now he takes pictures of the Starship rockets every day. And so if you watch NASA spaceflight videos, you may see some of them say shot by Nick and Sweeney. He's my good friend who's just moved out there, so he's asked me to come visit him several times. And I've only been to Texas like once in my life, and it was very brief. I was in a layover flight from Florida, so I didn't even really leave the airport. So you could say I've technically really never been to Texas. I stopped in Texas, but yeah, I would love to see the factory. I'd love to see Starbase. It sounds awesome. Luckily, though, I would assume that my good friend Mike, who lives relatively close to me, he paid for full self-driving outright, so it's paid for on his car, and he's going to try to press the beta button as soon as it's cohesively available. So we're going to probably do videos on that if he can get the button. I think I'm already planning to visit him in the next couple weeks. So I'm really hoping the button is available tomorrow, or at least a week from tomorrow, because then I'll be able to experience it myself. No, NASA spaceflight is not, it's kind of confusing. They're not affiliated with NASA. It's a private company that consists of a few dozen employees, and they cover all kinds of space flight. So NASA spaceflight is not directly NASA. It's a separate YouTube channel. How did I not know that Nick works for NSF? Yeah, follow him on Twitter. He posts pictures that he takes there, and if you watch NASA spaceflight YouTube videos, which I do, it gives you a good indicator of what goes on at Starbase every day. He's been like helping out Mary Boca Chica gal with a lot of the pictures, so they work together on stuff, and he's got all kinds of great, crazy stories he's told me, and it's really fun. I'm really happy for him because, just about a year ago, I think he quit his accounting job to pursue YouTube full time, and he had some success and was kind of trying to find his calling, trying to find what he enjoyed, but he's obviously really into photography and also really into the space stuff. So he went down there by himself. He wasn't planning on getting hired by NASA Spaceflight. He was just hoping to take some pictures and see if he could make a living out of filming Starbase content. And then they reached out to him and asked if he wanted to join the crew. And he said yes, so that's where they are. Not well reversed in space stuff. Need to watch more Talos of Space. Well, not much is happening with Talos of Space right now since Nick has joined Spaceflight, which makes total sense. He should have. But yeah, for Talos of Space, that's going to be left to, I don't know actually what's going to happen to that. I guess just me, which I sadly don't have that much time. But if you want to catch up with the kind of content Nick is doing, yeah, I'll post it in the chat there. It's awesome, though. We go way back. Epic Me says, not trying to flex or anything, but there's also another teenager that goes to another school that I know that has a red Model 3 dual motor and got it for his 16th birthday? Oh, my God. What are they doing in Texas? They have that kind of money. Son, you're 16, so I'm going to buy you a $50,000 car. Man, I grew up in the wrong place. What is it? Rain cash over there? What's going on? How is that possible? He's like, not trying to flex or anything. Sounds like someone trying to flex. I think so. Yeah, those freaking rich areas. I would have been crying over the moon if I got a standard range for my birthday. These kids getting dual motors. Holy crap. Well, I mean, I guess I could understand, like, if you have a lot of money and your kid is going to start driving soon, I would probably want to be like, let's give them the safest vehicle. If you want them to drive something, they might as well drive one of the safest vehicles possible. So I judge, and I'm like, what? How did they do that? But it's like, if I had the money to buy my kid a Tesla, The other benefit of that is you can track a Tesla's location from the app. Did you guys know that? You can set a limit to the speed as well. So if like someone else is driving the car, like if I don't know if that's the situation with you, Epic, but like if your dad has the app on his phone, he can see where you are. So there's a few parental monitoring features that I could see parents liking about the Tesla, opposed to just giving them some rundown basic sedan they've never. It's not safe. It's going to cost more, and they're not going to know how fast they're driving it. They're not going to know where they're driving it. So smart features like that the Tesla has. Okay, I get it. If you're rich, obviously. If you can't afford it, then obviously just buy the cheapest crap you can possibly find and be like, hey, don't crash this. And if they crash it, it's like, oh, well. Safest vehicle, cost of ownership is less than a Camry, but my first vehicle was like $5,000, so there's that. Yeah, mine basically spent my college fund on my current car that I'm still driving, but it was about $3,500. The computer I'm live streaming with right now cost more than my current vehicle. He sure zips around town. I want that 25K to come out, and one day I want to get it. So you have a Model 3 now for free, and you're like, I want to get a Model 2. Being Big Brother and limiting speeds and tracking a Tesla is awesome for kids and parents. That's fair. Everyday Astronaut, Tony Bella, and Scott Manley have great space content too. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Scott Manley. I haven't checked out Tony Bella. I need to look that up. I haven't heard of them, but I'm gonna save that in a second tab right now, just so I don't miss it. I don't see it. Oh well, somewhere around here. But yeah, there's a lot of fascinating development going on in the space community. It's cool to have a lot of overlap with the EV community and stuff. But yeah, I'm super interested in all the Starbase content. I have to kind of pick my battles, you know. I can't work 20 hours a day because I would go crazy. And also I'm married and I love spending time with my wife and I want to spend more time with her. So I can't work that much a day. But with the limited time I do have available to work, I do my best to push time towards the tech channel and the EV channel, because I've tried lots of different types of Tailosive content in the past, and those seem to do the best. People like it when I talk about technology, and I love talking about it, so I don't mind it at all. So I got to pick my battles. If I try to take on Tailosive Space, I can't stay active across everything. And it does take a while to make a channel monetizable. You have to get 4,000 hours of watch time and 1,000 subscribers. I don't think Tailosive Space has either of those right now. So like if I wanted to monetize that, I would have to really put a lot of time and energy into it. And I just don't really have much of either, because I'm already working quite a bit on the podcasts, and I'm having a lot of fun and a lot of success with the live streaming, both for the EV channel and the tech channel. So I'm trying to make time for that. Occasionally do a vlog on Tailosive Talks and a podcast on Tailosive Talks. And there's so much already going on. If there was more time in the day, I would love to do space content and cover more what's going on with Starbase and SpaceX and that kind of thing. But honestly, I watch several other amazing space channels right now, between Marcus House, SpaceX Centric. Who's the other one? What About It? What's his name? Oh, I know it. Sorry, I just remember it as What About It. Felix, that's it. His name is Felix, the host of What About It. There's all of these different great space channels that are doing an excellent job covering everything going on. I don't even know how I would top that. I feel like if I tried to do it, I would just be adding to the noise, because obviously I'm not close to Starbase. I can't compete with the people who are actually there. So if I did content like that, I would just be kind of regurgitating what other people have already said. So every once in a while, I occasionally get a space subject in my head where I feel like, not enough people have said this. So it hasn't happened a lot. I think I've only done like 2 or 3 videos for Tailosive Space, but I've got a few on the list. I'm like, if I've got some extra time someday, I might make one of these. they're not amazing ideas. I don't think they would do very well. But when I do occasionally get some extra time, I would like to get into that. But it's something that I've actually enjoyed being a fan of. You know, I've had a lot of enjoyment. You know, when you make a lot of EV content and you're covering EV news and you're keeping up to date with everything, you kind of don't have much of a interest in watching more EV content. Although this isn't a good example because I do watch a lot of EV channels. I watch Dirty Tesla. I watch Warren Redlick. I watch, I think those are the main ones. AI Driver. There's a few others I tune into occasionally, but those three are probably the ones I watch most regularly. A better example would be the tech channels. You know, I spend so much of my day researching, you know, tech products and smartphones and watches and iPads and all that, that when you spend all day working on that, you don't want to watch content about it after the fact. You're finding subjects and you're reading the news and scanning the news and doing podcasts about it and doing live streams about it. You don't really want to spend your free time watching that many tech videos. I do it on occasion, but not very often. Whereas with space content, because I'm not constantly searching for topics and I'm not talking about it on live streams or in edited videos all the time, I get to just sit back and enjoy it as a fan. Let's see. If I'm buying my kid a Model 3, I hope that I'm successful someday. The brat's getting a salvaged single motor. He's getting a salvaged single motor. That's not a terrible idea, Baron, because in its current state, at least, all salvaged Teslas can't supercharge. So that kind of prevents your kid from being able to go on road trips without your permission. But I guess you could kind of prevent that by just seeing where the car is within the app. Epic says, I got to pay back my parents and tear down to pay them off. Then when I'm old, I'll get a Plaid Model S. Wow. Maybe there was something be better than a Plaid Model S by then. Salvage single motor. Single motor's still plenty fast. Is my light freaking out? I'm worried. Wonder if I'm getting a power surge right now or my light's just acting up for some reason. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Tony Bella on Twitter. Gotcha. Let's see. My parents are always watching me. See, you got a Tesla, but my parents didn't know where I was driving. Unfortunately, I didn't have any friends, so I couldn't be very rebellious. But I could drive as fast as I wanted, and I could drive wherever I wanted. My parents had no way of knowing. Unfortunately, I wasn't too big of a rebel. I was pretty much driving to my friend Ross's house, who lived about 5 minutes away. So I was not too crazy, but I could have been. Also, I've never comfortably driven a car over 80 miles an hour. I know some people find that crazy, but like anytime the car goes over 80, I just get uncomfortable. I typically drive 5 to 10 over the speed limit, and that's about it. How many EV channels and Tesla channels are out there? Not to mention the Apple Tech channels. Your time is important, though. Yeah, there's a lot. I just feel like, I don't know. I don't mean to brag. I'm not trying to flex or anything, but I somewhat think I have some opinions and viewpoints to offer to the EV community that I don't think are brought up enough. It's certainly very interesting to me, and it's compelling to me, which is good if you're wanting to start a YouTube channel or make a YouTube channel your full-time gig or something. It helps a lot if you're interested in the subject, because a lot of developing a channel and growing a channel and trying to make it monetize involves posting and putting a lot of time and work into something that does not pay you back very quickly. So the fact that I'm able to talk about Tesla and EVs quite a bit helps me, because it gives me a lot of time to designate to, you know, I can do this and I can just ramble for hours and hours, and I'm enjoying it along the way. So I don't really care if I'm not making as much, or I don't really care if the revenue is lower, because I'm enjoying myself. So if you're trying to make content about something that's not interesting, that's a lot more difficult. Let's see. Your opinion on the no speed limit highways in Germany? That makes sense. It's kind of cool. I've never been there. Actually, my wife and I are hoping to visit Germany sometime next year. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see Giga Berlin, but My wife's best friend actually was a foreign exchange student in high school, and that's how they met. And she lives in Germany, and we were hoping to visit her sooner, but COVID hit and everything. But I don't know if I'll be able to drive on those roads. Is that the Autobahn? I forget what it's called, but yeah, it's like it kind of makes sense. Like there's stretches of road in the U.S., not as many, but there's a few portions of road in the U.S. where they're like, just drive safely, and there's not really a speed limit. But I've been on that road. There's a road in Utah, I think, or is it Nevada? I can't remember. We went on a road trip when I was in like the 6th grade, and we went in these salt flats where there wasn't a speed limit. It's cool. It's a little dangerous, but I don't think I would go like 120 on those roads. Maybe if it was like no one to see for miles and miles and miles, and the road was incredibly straight. I don't know. Even then, I'm just not a daredevil. I'm not into performance that much, and I'm not one to drive super duper fast. Have you been over 80 miles an hour on that bike? No, I don't ride motorcycles. I ride mountain bikes. No motor. You just pedal. It's an exercise thing. 200 mile per hour squat over here on 2 wheels. You went over 200 miles per hour? Oh my God. I mean, I'm sure it's a fun sensation, but I just mean there's so little things that can go wrong that will just completely destroy you. That's what always scares me about going super duper fast. Is like, okay, it may look safe, it may look fine, but if something happens, something runs in front of you, or someone cuts you off, or something goes horribly wrong, you are really, really screwed when you're at speeds that high. That's just dangerous. Variety Entertainments has been trying to monetize for like 3 years and just don't have the time to build enough of an audience. I hear you, man. It's tough. It took me many, many years before I was able to even receive a paycheck from Google. And it's a ever-changing battle, It's not just a one size fits all. It's not like one formula works for everybody. It like changes depending on the year, depending on the news, depending on how the algorithm handles you. I still struggle now to grow channels, and I've been doing this full time for over 4 years, and there's still things I don't get, and there's still things I do wrong. Jose says, what's your favorite Filipino food? Lumpia. My wife makes a ton of lumpia, and it's delicious. We eat that probably once or twice a month. But lechon's also great. And what else? I think that's the 2 biggest ones. Let's see. 200 miles per hour on a motorcycle. I know, that's just crazy. Please be careful. I would hate to find out. A lot of the time when people get in those like dangerous situations, I like to imagine myself thinking of like the story. Can you imagine like all of your legs being broken or your neck being sprained, and you're just like straight out across the hospital bed with this giant bill, and someone asks, what happened? And you got to explain, I wanted to go 200 miles per hour on a motorcycle. Like, you're going to enjoy telling people that. Autobahns in Germany are great, but just so you know, lane discipline there is paramount. The left lane is for passing. Having moved to North America from Europe, let me tell you, y'all can't drive. Well, I mean, yeah, no, I agree for the most part. Most people here, I mean, we complain about drivers in North America all the time, but man, I've heard from other countries and stuff. It can be far worse. We're not the worst drivers in the world, but yeah, we're not the best. Not trying to defend that. If there was no speed limit, maybe people would not hang out in the left lane as often. Around where I live, like if you're going 15 over, the highway patrol will stop you, and there's quite a bit. I drove a little distance today because I'm not super close to my dentist, but there were quite a few patrolmen. Just last week there was a person on the freeway driving next to me, and it was like a 65 speed limit. I was going 75, and someone passed me going 80, and they just went a little bit past me, and then the highway patrol turned their lights on and zoomed past me, and they pulled them over. And like they're pretty strict about that. So people are kind of hesitant to either hang in the right lane because you deal with a ton of people that go the speed limit or slower. And then there's a ton of people that go in the left lane, but they don't want to go too fast in the left lane because then they get pulled over. So it results in this like weird middle ground. Christopher says, I want to get an affordable EV with at least 200 miles after I get my license. Yeah, don't get a Bolt, please. Well, I mean, hopefully they figure out the battery problems, but yeah. Friend of mine crashed going like 160, 180. He lost his life and he had a GoPro. It is a major risk for sure. Yeah, dude, that's terrible. Motorcycles are freaking dangerous. I kind of understand why Elon doesn't want to get into that, but I mean, it's fun. My dad loves it. My good friend Ross is just now getting into it. He rode his motorcycle over to our place just the other day. He's on like a provisional license. He's like just now learning because his brother's getting into it, and so he's borrowing his bike, and he's having fun. He's enjoying it, but man, yeah, if something goes wrong, things typically go very, very wrong. So I'm not super into it. They've been asking me to. They're like, yeah, you want to get a bike? You want to get into motorcycles? And I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just kind of not interested in anything with a combustion engine. I partially have you guys to blame for that, and the EV channel as a whole. Any type of vehicle with a combustion engine, I'm like, do we have to get this? You know, I don't really care about this. I'm not really a fan of anything that's got to have oil changes. And, you know, the next big vehicle I hope to buy, I don't know when, it's probably going to be years, but the next big vehicle I hope can one day drive itself and be able to charge from home and supercharge and not have to worry about oil changes or smog checks or brake pads and all that. Let's see. When I first got my Apple Watch, I used the speedometer and workout to clock 30 miles on a bicycle down a hill. Then I crashed. It was quite painful. Wow, 30 miles. 30 miles an hour? On a bike? I guess I might have hit that downhill at some point. I've never tried that. I've never checked the speedometer. More of a chance to die, but it feels very freeing being on two wheels. Just be safe if you ever decide to do it. Always wear a helmet and long sleeves. Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. You got to be extra safe. I just mean, for some people, it's not even... You could be the safest motorcycle driver in the world, and some moron could hit you. And, you know, when you're in a car, it's like, okay, my car's totaled. That sucks. But if you're in a motorcycle, someone makes a mistake, you could be dead, even if you did everything right. So, it's... I get that it's freeing. I've heard it. I rode on a motorcycle when my dad got one when I was pretty young. I wasn't very tall yet. I think it was kind of before I hit my growth spurt. But there was probably like 5 or 6 times I rode on the back of my dad's motorcycle with him when I was a lot younger. And it's fun. It's cool. But, yeah, it's scary a little bit to think about what could go wrong. Hopefully, the ideal scenario is that vehicles get more and more mandatory safety features, more and more active safety systems, to the point that other cars on the road won't be stupid and they won't crash into you. That would be the best, obviously. So the more Teslas we get on the road, the less likely motorcycle accidents are going to be, in my opinion. So I'm all for more safety features if possible, but I'm not in that camp of like we should ban all motorcycles. Like Tesla says we're never going to make motorcycles because they're dangerous. I'm like, I don't know. I think that there are certain countries where motorcycles are so common and so popular that it's probably unreasonable to assume that we can just switch everything to sedans, like in India, or, you know, I visited the Philippines. So many motorcycles and rickshaws there. You're not going to get everyone there to switch to a Model 3 or even a Model 2, even if it was, you know, we think they're going to struggle to hit $25,000. Even if it was $18,000, that would not replace most vehicles on the road. So my mom's brother also died on a bike run over by a truck. Oh, man. These are sad stories, guys. I've heard them too. Luckily, no one too close to me. But yeah, I hear about it all the time. It's scary. You gotta assume that risk. Thankfully, I don't think the Aptera is going to be as dangerous as a motorcycle. I do think it's going to have a fairly rigid roll cage, crumple zone, in an interior cage that keeps you safe in a collision. A lot of people just think if a vehicle looks weird, it must not be safe, and I don't think it's always that's simple. see motorcycles being outlawed for sure once self-driving becomes the norm, in Nam at least. In Nam. Yeah, I guess it would be very difficult to come up with a self-driving motorcycle. Even if they did come up with one, would anybody really want that? Like, would you want to like sit on a motorcycle and have it steer you and everything? Yeah, there's too much leaning and turning and weight management that goes on with motorcycles. I don't think you'd want a self-driving one. But if most cars ended up being self-driving, I bet motorcycles would be a lot less dangerous because you wouldn't have to worry about the cars acting up. I feel like I could be wrong, but I think the majority of motorcycle accidents happen because A, the motorcycle rider is being stupid and reckless and not paying attention, or B, a driver is not paying attention, and that's resulting in accident taking place. Like I've heard the mental exercise that at some points, like if someone's trying to pull out from a tight turn and they can't see very well and they're looking for a car, and because humans are bad at drivers and we miss things and we get distracted easily, we're looking for a car, and when they see a motorcycle coming, that's not the mental image we were prepared for. I've never done this, but I've heard this explanation from my dad, who's took all the motorcycle safety courses and stuff. And when someone's looking around the corner, they see a motorcycle coming and they just think, not a car, therefore I can go. So people will drive and pull out in front of a motorcycle, and that causes an accident. Even though they technically saw them, they were just kind of dozing off, and their brain had been trained to look for a car coming, and there wasn't a car coming, even though it was technically a vehicle. I've never pulled out in front of a motorcycle, but I have had that like second guess moment where I'm like on a tight corner and I'm looking to make sure it's clear, and then all of a sudden a motorcycle comes and I'm like, oh, it's not a car, but I still gotta wait. I've never caused an accident, thankfully. I'm glad to report that. I've been a fairly safe driver, but yeah, that's mind exercise. Like a full self-driving Tesla most likely would not have that problem. It would see anything. Car, motorcycle, gotta wait. The coast is not clear. Tesla bot riding a motorcycle. Oh, there you go, Eliz. The Tesla bot rides you around. Aptera sure will be safer than a motorcycle. I just wonder how easily the wind might blow it away on highways. Well, I thought they talked about that, at least in one of the Aptera videos. They said that the crosswind surface area is much lower than that of a typical vehicle because of its sloped design on the back. I'm sorry, I got to bring it up because I'm a huge Aptera nerd. Let me get a good side angle design here. Basically, the surface area from the side, okay, here's a good shot, is a lot smaller than that because most sedans are going to take up more space and the four doors going to fill up in. But because of how sleek and teardrop design it is, I thought they said in one of the interviews that the crosswinds wouldn't hurt it very much, or they wouldn't push it hardly at all, just because it's aerodynamic and not just the front direction, side direction as well. But yeah, sure. Being lighter weight, you have to be somewhat more aware of crosswinds and that kind of thing. Aptera is about the same size as Model 3. Wind won't matter. Yeah, it's not going to be the same weight though as a Model 3. I think that's what he was saying. Let's see. I've hit 50 miles per hour going down a Giorgio meme. I don't know what that is. Okay, I'm sorry if I didn't read everyone's message. I'm not sure if Karen's still watching, but Karen, I think that's how you pronounce it, said, was it this Friday or next Friday that we're getting FSD beta? If the original plan holds up, I think it's tomorrow is when the beta button is supposed to start showing up. Again, it will be a gradual launch. It won't be all at once. But if it's not tomorrow, then assume a week from tomorrow. Speaking of Aptera, is the monthly Aptera update no longer a thing? Well, I did it for a while, but then I kind of felt weird about doing it because Aptera themselves started doing monthly updates, and I felt like there were a lot of months where there weren't that many changes. There weren't that many new pieces of information to report. It's just like, well, they're still working on it. They're still prototyping, and I do keep up to date with them, and I follow everything they tweet, and I pay attention to everything they talk about. But yeah, I felt kind of weird because for a while there I was doing like Aptera updates January, Aptera updates February, but then their own YouTube channel started uploading videos with like the exact same title, and that's Aptera. So I'm like, I don't want to step on them. I don't want to be doing monthly updates if they're going to be doing monthly updates. So I'll just wait until there's some news or some subjects, and I'll still do videos on Aptera. I just don't really see the need to do monthly updates. Jonathan says, might as well be on a motorcycle if you're driving an Aptera. I don't think it's the same. There's a lot more crumple zone, and there's like a cage internal, just like a car. There's like a big F1 inspired crash cage in case of an accident. There's more things basically for another car to run into. In general logic with safety of vehicles, essentially the rule of thumb is the bigger vehicle wins. So if a Tesla Semi for some reason ran into a Tesla Roadster, it doesn't matter how good the crash ratings or how good the airbags or how good the, semi's going to win. And it's the same kind of thing with a Cybertruck versus a Model Y. Cybertruck's bigger. Cybertruck's probably going to weigh more. So when you have more stuff around you, that can prevent there from being more pain and injury inflicted when a bigger vehicle hits a smaller vehicle. That's why smart cars were often looked at as being less safe, was because they're a lot more compact, and if they got into a crash, there's less things there to stop you. Aptera is not as small as people think. I think a lot of people see the pictures of the Aptera and imagine that it must be this really small, cheap, flimsy vehicle. It's wider than a Cybertruck. In the interior cabin space, at least for the front row, is about as wide as a Model 3. So size-wise, it's a different shape. It's not the same shape as a typical sedan, but in terms of how much stuff there is in front of you and behind you, if you're getting hit from behind or from the front, there's about the same amount of, maybe not exactly the same, but there's a decent amount of crumple zone on the front, and there's a lot of stuff that has to condense on the back before the vehicle hitting you would actually, and the tires on the side that are sticking out, that the stuff would have to go through all of that. I mean, I'm sure you could get in a gnarly crash, and it may not be the safest vehicle ever made, but I don't think it would be the same as a motorcycle, which is essentially you have nothing. When a car hits a motorcycle, they're basically hitting you right in the leg. It's an enclosed slingshot so far. Those have low injury rates. Well, that's good. Oh, slingshot. I think I know what those are. I've seen a few of them driving around here. Slingshot motorcycle. Yeah, okay. For those who don't know, I'll pull it up here. I've actually seen quite a few of these. It's the same general premise. I think if I scroll back far enough, I'll find a picture of me. I sat in one of these. I didn't drive one, but I did sit in one when I was visiting my parents one summer. I was visiting my sister in out of state. They had one of these at a motorcycle dealership I was checking out. It's like, yeah, the two wheels in the front, one wheel in the back, and it's a two-seater with a steering wheel. So I'm curious what the safety ratings are on those things. I bet because it's a convertible, it's instantly less safe. But this has an open. There's no door, there's no ceiling, there's no side windows. The Aptera is going to be all enclosed, so I have to imagine. Oh, there's somewhat of an enclosed one. Huh. Interesting. I don't know much about them, but yeah, that's like Aptera's not the first company to come up with a three-wheeled, two in the front. Look up Giorgio meme on YouTube sometime. No regret. Okay. I like any meme. Tag me on Twitter with your best memes. I want to see them. Johnny B says, love the streams, dude. Thanks for talking Tesla with us. Of course. Dude, I'm just vibing right now, like my wife, I'm excited for my wife to come home, but she's just hanging out with her friend for now. She's sending me pictures. Oh, she probably doesn't want me to share this, but she sent like a Drew and Louise forever on a, what is that, a boogie board? It's called a boogie board. It's like something you draw on. And then there's like sunset pictures, and I'm excited for her to come home, but until she comes home, I'm like, I'm just going to keep streaming. Oh, God. What the heck? What did C in it? Now my friends are texting me. Apparently, CNN tweeted something about a guy with my same name pleading guilty in court. What the heck? That's crazy. Oh, okay. My wife's going to be back in just a few minutes, so I'll be wrapping up here, but she's on her way back. Carl Wright says, rules of driving a smart car. Don't crash into another smart car or something hard. Apparently, it uses the other car's crumple zone with its tritial cell, but who knows? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know as much about that. Variety says, been doing my engineering homework while watching. Oh, nice. Engineering, wow. That's a well-paying profession. Good luck with that. You don't need to read this, but were you scared / nervous when you proposed? I was a little nervous, but for the most part, no. I kind of knew. We had already talked about it beforehand. In my opinion, if you're doing your relationship right, when you propose, it shouldn't be a giant shock. I think that movies and TV shows kind of hype up the idea that it's going to completely catch your significant other. It could be the girl, it could be the guy. A lot of movies and shows make it out to be like it's going to be this complete, oh my God, like, in my opinion, that's a big decision, and you should probably have talked a bit about it before jumping straight to the, here's the ring, will you marry me? There should be a bit of discussion going on beforehand, and we did discuss it quite a bit beforehand, and I had asked permission from her dad, and, you know, we had a lot of knowledge that, okay, we were going to talk about this, and, you know, this was a direction we were going to take. So it was almost more of a formality by the time I was already asking. But yeah, I think movies and shows, I could be wrong. Maybe it's more romantic if you don't talk about it. But at least in our relationship, we were like, you should probably not spontaneously bring that up. It's probably not a good idea if you've been dating them for a long time and you've never talked about marriage and you don't know what your long-term plans are and you have no clue whether or not you guys are going to end up getting married, and then just all of a sudden you hey, you want to get married? They're like, they don't have time to process. They don't have time to think about it. So I would say it's better to have that kind of decided on beforehand. I've been dating my girlfriend for 4.5 years. We've been talking about it, but it's very nerve-wracking. Well, yeah, that's what you got to do. I don't think the conversation would start very well if it began with you on one knee with a ring, because then you're going to get upset if she says no, and you're going to feel awkward if you do it in a public place where there's other people, and then she says, I don't know. I mean, maybe, but I'm not feeling ready for it yet. You know, you don't want to do all that publicly. You want to have those types of talks more formally and more regularly before you start spending money on, you know, the ring, that kind of thing. I'm wrapping up, so I'm okay getting a little personal here. How long have you two been married together in general? We're about to celebrate our 3-year anniversary, and we've known each other since we just celebrated our meetiversary, actually. We met on September 4th, 9 a.m., 2015, and we've been dating since January 1st of 2017. So we didn't date for 4.5 years. I got married fairly young. I wouldn't recommend most people do what I did, but we were kind of in a unique position. You know, I think most people are still trying to figure out what their career is going to be, and they're not really sure what their job is going to be long term. So it's better to kind of figure out your life plans, I think, before you get married. But I had kind of found the career I wanted to pursue, and kind of same thing with her. She kind of knew what direction she was going in, and we were pretty young, younger than anyone else I had known that had gotten married, and we just felt like it was right, and we felt like we could plan our future together, and that it was going to save a lot of, you know, expenses, and, you know, joint finances were going to save a lot. So it ended up just making a ton of sense, and once we did it, we were like, man, this just makes too much sense. Why didn't we do this sooner? So I don't regret getting married young. Honestly, I wish I would have gotten married younger, but I'm kind of a weird example because I had kind of picked a career job that I was already in the middle of working by the time I was 20 years old. So at that point I was like, why am I waiting? Just for the sake of waiting? remembers the exact date and time he met her. Well, we celebrate it every year, so it's kind of hard to forget. I know the location, too. We were at a community college. She actually met my friend Ross first, and then on the way out, the first thing she ever said to me was, "You look like Ron Weasley." And I think, what was I gonna say? I vlogged that day. The day I met her, I documented it on Taylor Talks. So I'm glad I got video coverage of the day we met. I was happy to capture that. So yeah, love being married to her. We have a lot of fun. We're excited to travel more. She likes Teslas too, and we're hoping to, have more free time and be able to explore more of the world, and not be so cooped up here. Because right now we're both working from home. For those curious why we don't have an EV, it's because we barely drive anywhere, so it doesn't make much sense right now. But holding out for those cheaper EVs with better range and all that. They'll be coming. Do you have a link of that Taylor Talks? Would be dope. Somewhere. It's really old. It was a long time ago. I'll find it. I think I included it in a recap of the day I proposed to her. I think there was a flashback. Let me try to find it. I'll end you with that so you guys have something to watch as I wrap up the stream here. Taylor Talks. Yeah, it was like Drew peaked way too early. Got married so young. Oh, where is it? I can't find it. Somewhere. Anyway, I'll look around for it. Never do weekend road trips or anything? Sometimes. Yeah, we do those, but not often enough that the Tesla would be worth the expense yet. Has she ever been on a stream or video? Would she want to? Yeah, she's been on... we used to do the Talks podcast together live, but she's just working so much she doesn't really want to... I mean, she doesn't love being on camera, but she's not against it. I'll get her on someday, one of these days. I think it'd be fun. Yeah, but she's been in my vlogs in the past. If you just go on Taylor Talks and you look through some of the vlogs, you'll see her. We've done lots of streams. Before we were married, actually, she did several streams with me. Anyway, well, this has been a long stream. It went a lot longer than I was expecting, but I had a ton of fun. I appreciate for all of you. I got to end on 69 viewers. That's just too perfect. That's beautiful. So thank you for all the members that have joined today. What does she do? Well, she's asked me not to disclose the company she works for, but basically it's an online chat job. But yeah, she's... I'm not supposed to say who she works for. It's not a big mystery, but just not supposed to disclose it. She works online out of our bedroom, which is nice. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in. If you want more personal stuff, check out Taylor Talks. You can see more of me and Louise over there. But anyway, fun EV talk. Hope you all have an excellent rest of your evening. Take care, all. Bye-bye.